Do the introduction.
No.
Remember, you're hosting, Sarah. CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Alan Huffman, Amigos Retro Gaming, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donaghy, Brian Wieseler, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Eric Canales, Glen Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pitsley, Rick Hewlin, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., Tim Lindner, Tom Heron, and Tony C. Thank you ever so much, patrons. CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALK episode 232 with our special guest host today, Sarah. No pressure, Sarah. All right, we're here. Sarah, take it away.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Sarah.
We're going to have a great show today.
Oh,
Is that right, David?
David, are you
Oh,
excited?
yes, we are.
I see a perfectly good panel today.
Unfortunately, not on this show.
I'll introduce the people on the panel for you, Sarah. You can stay there and look beautiful. In the top left-hand corner of the screen, vacationing in sunny Florida, Marco Overholzer is here. Hey, Marco.
Hey, glad to be here, and Florida's looking nice.
It certainly is. And Rick Hewlin's here. Hey, Rick.
Hey, vacationing in temporarily sunny Milwaukee.
All right, sunny Milwaukee. And our backup streamer and engineer, Mark Bowes, is here. Hey, Mark.
The sun vanished. This crazy water's falling out of the sky for some damn reason.
This guy knows nothing about sun in Arizona, but Roundtable is here. How you doing, Ronnie?
Pretty good.
Tim Lindner's in the live chat, so is Jim Rye and Scott Cooper and Paco Atacte, Exiled and Paradise and David Craker and Terry Steggy and Tom Eric Gunderson and Rick Hewlin and L. Curtis Boyle and Mark Bosley. All kinds of people in the live chat out there. Tim Lindner, how you doing? We also have the host now of our Game On Challenge, Ken Waters, Canadian Retro Things. How's it going, eh?
It's going good, eh?
It's going great. Mikey's here too. He likes it. He likes it. Our foreign correspondent and fellow Canadian L. Curtis Boyle's here. How you doing, L. Curtis?
Good. Welcome to the show, everyone.
All right. And we have a guy who gets things from time to time, makes people jealous. Brian Wieseler is here. How you doing, Brian?
Doing well. Hello, everybody.
Thank you for being here. Oh, my God, this guy here. I don't know what to say other than...
Bless your heart.
It's Terry Steggy from the Tandy Shack. How you doing there, Terry?
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
And are you like retro tech time, too, or something else? I don't know how many personalities you have now.
I have, it's multiple.
You're
It's a
going to be
disorder.
like David Ladd and Paco Atacte and Drencor and frickin' Diet Dr. Pepper, all kinds of other crap, right? So
Playing for a
Bless your
personality
heart.
for every piece of Brian Wieseler's equipment that he's got for the Coco.
And we have the host of our show today with her sidekick. Sarah's here with her sidekick, Jason Reichert. How you guys doing? Can I get a yes from you, Jason?
Yes, you are correct, sir.
You are correct, Sarah. Yes.
From slightly cloudy and traffic-jammed Charlotte, North Carolina.
Woohoo! Alan, Exile in Paradise is here. How you doing, Alan?
Doing all right. Greetings, coconuts.
The question is, how are you feeling today, David Ladd?
Oh, I'm doing just peachy, Stevie, and I hope everybody else is doing good today. Are you all ready for today's train wreck? I know I am. I'm waiting to see how much blood and gore splattered all over the railway. Let's get this show on the road.
Wow. Totally
Dark
went there.
David.
Wow, David.
Yeah, we have sunlight.
Very
Enjoy.
uplifting.
Dark David Ladd. The Thunder from Down Under.
Oh, crud.
Nicholas Morentis. Good eye,
Hey,
Nick.
good day, planet Earth.
Good eye to you. I am your guest host today, Stevie Strode. The main host today is Sarah, the lovely and talented Sarah. Sarah, what are we going to talk about today on Coco Talk?
A bunch of Coco stuff.
Bunch of Coco stuff. All right. That would be
You
different.
can tell she's a seasoned professional.
We're going to do Game On. We're going to do
45 minutes on Diet Dr. Pepper.
yes, and Diet Dr. Pepper and water.
All right. It sounds like an exciting show. I'm glad everybody tuned in. Is really excited for that. Ken Reichert is out there. Canadian Retro Things. Samuel Gimes is out there. Mr. Dave is out there. Evan Mooney is out there. Hello from Wales. It's raining here too, he says. Very cool. All right. So we got things to talk about today. Actually, before we get into, we're going to juggle the segments around a little bit. Brian Wieseler is going to treat us with something, some type of update or acquisition. But before we get to that, we're going to get to a segment that has been taken over by a new producer who is new to Discord. I put out a call for help, and we got somebody who said, hold my beer, I'm going to do this. And I think I like where Who's New to Discord is going. So why don't we take a look at that real quick? Let's look at who's new to Discord this week, and then we'll talk about, I don't know, did you guys already reveal who the mastermind is behind this, or is that still a secret? Is that still kind of a Wizard of Oz thing? Man behind the curtain? I don't know. Anyways, enjoy this, and we'll be back after this is done.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord This Week?
Retro Tech Time. My name is Terry and I'm a non-recovering TRS-80aholic. I have been on Discord and CoCoTALK for a couple of years now and enjoy everyone here. I am starting my own channel about my retro collection of not just Tandy stuff but everything retro that I collect and enjoy. Take care and remember, Fletcher went far. Masters 3263827. Hi, my name is Stan. I owned a CoCo 1 and upgraded it myself to ECB, 64K RAM. I added a CoCo disk and was an early OS 9 user. I helped stage a 5-user demo of Star Trek running in BASIC 09 at a Dayton, Ohio club meeting. I also ordered a Model 4 case and with some help, I wired it with a color monitor, my CoCo, and disk drives. I wish I still had some pictures of it. Additionally, I worked with Gary Becker's FPGA code and am the author of a port to the DE2115 board. Presently I am porting the same code to the Mr. Desk 2. Marc-Antoine Chabot. My first computer was a CoCo 2 and I've typed many of the programs from the Rainbow magazine. I have a TV cabinet with 16 retro and non-retro systems, ranging from the Atari 2600 up to a PS4 and Nintendo Switch. I've just received my CoCo SDC and I am looking for information about it. Found this Discord a few months ago on Facebook. Glen Hewlett. I'm a big CoCo fan. I had a few Amigas back in the day, but as far as retro computers go, the CoCo is the only computer I'm really into. I have such fond memories with the CoCo. I enjoy programming mostly in assembly but BASIC on the CoCo has always been fun. I found out about Discord from the CoCoTALK YouTube videos. I'm not sure what to expect here, as I'm new to Discord. Back in the day, I always enjoyed computer forums and this seems like that on steroids. Hopeful to make new retro friends and to help keep the CoCo community strong. As a side note, Glen is the one who just brought the community Joust and Defender. Thank you, Glen. Nitro Ferrano. I'm Paula Silva. My first experience with the CoCo was back in the 80s when I lived in Brazil. I had a cousin and a neighbor that had a CoCo 1 clone, the Prologica CP400.
All right. Well, we're gonna pause that one and come back to that in a little while. That's good though. We have a new voice talent behind there. I don't know if we want to mention who that voice talent is, but I like the format and I like the all that kind of stuff. Did we say who's doing this? Or are we going to say who's doing this, or no? Is that still a trade secret?
It's the grandson of Hal 2000.
It's Hal 2000.
His grandson.
His grandson. Okay. All right. Well, all right. We're gonna keep that ambiguous then. All right. Well, we'll be back with more of who's new to Discord. But in the meantime, we have some updates and some acquisitions to talk about. And when you look up the word updates and what am I no longer the host of the show? I can't. Or did they change Discord? Or they changed Zoom? Because now it says pin. It used to say spotlight. Now it says pin.
Looks like Mark is the host now.
Oh,
Marco.
Did I make somebody else the host? Oh, can somebody make me the host again?
Marco, it's you.
It's fine the way it is.
Nah, because I can't spotlight him. I was trying to spotlight Brian Wieseler. Am I the host again or no? I am the host now. Okay, let's try this again. Okay,
don't know how that happened.
This
is a professional show,
folks. It was probably me when I was making co-host. All right, cool. All right, so Brian Wieseler is the guy who gets things. And what are you going to show us today, Brian Wieseler?
Well, some of it's CoCo, some of it's kind of indirectly CoCo. More kind of like some tools and stuff that I've been kind of picking up over the past few months for some upcoming projects that I want to work on and some things that have been talked about. So one of the things that I picked up, and I think this is a common one that's out there because I'd like to take my hand at it, is programming some EEPROMs. So I picked up this EEPROM burner. I think this is a fairly common model that's out there. A lot of folks use. So, and it comes with various little adapters. So I'm going to be taking my hand at trying to program a ROM.
Neat.
So that's one thing that I got going on. And then I did kind of post about this. Kind of excited to start playing. I got my first Raspberry Pi, and I went all the way up to the 400.
Nice.
So I'm going to be doing that this weekend and getting the SD card all set up. And
did you get a separate SD card? I would keep the one that came with it. Because did you buy the kit that came with the Pi OS on the card?
Yes. Yep. I got the kit, the one that you recommended. Okay. And then I went ahead and got the
Samsung 128. Boom.
Yep.
You're in there like swimwear. Yep.
Yep. So I should be good to go there.
Nice.
So that'll be
is fun. Is the Pi in the keyboard?
Yes. Yeah. The Pi 400 is built into the keyboard.
Yep.
Well,
and then
what's it look like behind?
Right there.
Oh. Okay.
Look at those ports. Lots of I/O can take place in those ports. Yeah.
So do you have access to that long strip of pins?
Yeah, that black thing there is covering the header. If you can see it, can you see it, Ron?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that wide black thing that kind of looks like the door to the cartridge slot, that's covering the header for the pin connectors.
How does it stay cool?
I don't know. It's all internal. It must have. I don't know if it has. There's exhaust vents there.
So yeah, there might be it has a little bit of weight to it, so there might be some metal in there
or heat sinks. There's got to be heat sinks, I would imagine. At least it's got to be at least passively cooled. Well, however they designed it.
To put a fan on it, is there?
You'd have to crack open the case. It's designed that way, so they've manufactured it. So, and it's made by Raspberry Pi, so it's not like you're buying a kit where you can pick and choose your own stuff. So it was produced, and I'm sure they produced it within the spec to make it cool and all that good stuff. It's a neat little thing now. I got one now too. What else you got there, Brian?
Then also too, this is another common tool that I hear a lot of. I think Jason has this one here, but I wanted to get myself an actual desoldering tool, proper one that has the vacuum on it and everything. So because I have a number of CoCos that I want to do some repair work on, and do the old solder wick, and just doesn't quite cut it. So I'm hoping this will do a better job.
That's a desolder, but is it a solder sucker, or is it just?
Yep, it solder sucks. Yep.
Okay.
So you heat it heats up, and then when you press the trigger, it starts a little vacuum pump and actually sucks it out. Versus like one of the spring-loaded plunger type.
Okay.
You hit the button and you just get one little suction off of it. This is continuous. So
Nice.
it should, once you heat it up, it should pull the solder all the way through in one shot, and you're not having to reheat and possibly lifting traces on a board and such.
Neat.
So I'm hoping that'll be. And then along that lines, because I have I have one of the 6809 Sprite boards coming that John offers. Actually, it's supposed to show up today. I was hoping it might be here, but the post is a little bit later. So that's why I wanted to get some more tools. And so with that, I've always wanted to get one of these. I think
I
Ken,
have one of those. I got one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ken has one that he uses on the show quite a bit, but it's just a bigger version of this. But it's that silicone.
Silicone,
so I think that's gonna. Yep. So
And the those little cubby things there are magnetic too, right? So if you throw screws down in there, they don't go all over the place.
I'm not sure if this one is, but I know what you're talking about. That they have them there, so I've wanted to get one of those.
Yeah, those are cool.
And then getting ready for that Sprite board, I also picked myself up a male-to-male SCART cable.
Okay.
So I can get the output and then go to a SCART to HDMI adapter. So,
nice.
I'm looking forward to playing with that.
Does the Sprite board output audio over the SCART cable too? So you just have the one thing?
I'm trying to remember if that's the. It may. I don't remember.
Okay.
Right off the top of my head, but I'm going to find out. Yep, I'm going to dive into that there. So, and then a few, maybe about a month ago now, Aaron from the Retro Hack Shack was offering his HDMI
the
to
RGB chip?
RGB to HDMI adapter.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Can I share my screen here? Yeah.
I might need to stop sharing mine, so go ahead and try it.
Okay. Okay,
Right.
Can you see this here?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so as Aaron talked about on his video, if you're going to hook this up to a CoCo 3, you have to build your own cable that has some diodes in it.
Okay.
It's used to combine the vertical and horizontal into one signal. So that's what this portion here is in the picture here. There's he did his a little differently. I wanted mine, so I had this heat shrink tubing to kind of extend it out from underneath the CoCo first,
right,
and then the diodes, and then you also have to add onto the analog board that you get with this kit. You have to add an additional comparator chip, and that's this little surface mount guy down here.
Okay.
And he looks like that. And
wow, what did you take that picture with? That's like macro photography there. That's
actually my new iPhone that I got. So, yep, I held my phone about 2 inches above it, zoomed in on it, and gave a nice clear picture. I was very surprised.
That's like a microscope, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that little chip had to be it's a little surface mount chip had to be added, and I actually have
where?
What's that?
Where does it get added?
So there's two boards. There's two boards inside the inside this black case. Actually, there's three boards. There's the Pi Zero board, which is where these ports are at, and then on top of that is his analog board, and then on top of that is the digital board. That kind of all three of those get sandwiched inside this little black case that he provides with the kit. And you get your HDMI out right here, and this is your power. Now you can plug in a keyboard if you want to, but you don't need to. And then there's the buttons for navigating it. So I have it actually hooked up here. Let me stop sharing. And
so is that what you were doing your capture through when you showed that stuff on Facebook? Your Sailor Man?
No, that's actually. I was going to show this too. I picked this up here. This brand here. I know you recently got one too, Stevie.
Yeah.
I settled it on this one here. This brand here. I can't remember. It's what's it called here? Oh, what's it called here? Mirabox. M-I-R-A box.
Okay.
Mirabox. This brand here, and it has I think some of the similar features where it has HDMI in, and then USB 3 out, and also HDMI out. So it has the throughput, so you can go straight to a monitor.
Okay.
And hook it up that way. Let me change my video here. My video source to.
Your microphone went cold on us. I don't know what. Okay. Oh, that's really clean. That's pretty clean.
Yep. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, you're a little echoey.
A little bit? Okay. So yeah, this is the output from it.
From the RGB board?
Yep, from Aaron's RGB there. So yep, and then also my video capture. So that's kind of it's been kind of nice.
So
I thought,
so that his board, his board isn't really that useful to a CoCo 3 since we already have like RGB to SCART, but it also supports CoCo 2, which is a little bit more helpful. But so what you're doing is you're taking the RGB cable, and then that board is converting it to digital, so it's coming out HDMI.
Correct. Yep.
And it's not. It's a little wavy on the left, though. I'm seeing that little fluctuation line on the left border.
Yeah, I want to do some more testing. It might be my video capture.
Okay.
What did it cost?
What cost?
The HDMI, the RGB to adapter.
The whole thing you showed there with the adapter.
Oh, the whole thing there. I think when you buy all the components that you need in order to hook up to a CoCo 3, I think it ends up being around it's about $85, $95 for because you have to buy the different pieces because his RGB to HDMI will work with dozens of different machines. So it's not just CoCo specific. I mean, it can Commodore, Atari, old retro machines. I mean, there's literally hundreds of different machines that you can plug the signal. I shouldn't say hundreds, but there's dozens of machines that you can plug into.
Okay.
And so go ahead.
The other question is, how'd you put that little chip in?
Soldered it. You have to solder it on there. On the back of the analog board is the pads, and so you just have to line it up and solder it in place.
Was it tough being so small?
I have a magnifying lens with a light on it that I can work underneath. So with a nice fine tip soldering iron, I was able to solder it into place. And there's other techniques you can use, but just a steady hand and you can get her done. But it's not easy.
Does Aaron offer that kit fully assembled by any chance, or is it only in kit form?
It's only in kit form.
Okay.
You buy the different boards that you need.
Yeah, I'm not a solderer either, but yeah, so that might be something if you were interested, Ron. And I don't know if you're coming to CoCoFest this year, but if you time it to where you can get the parts and bring it to an event where there are professional solderer dudes handy.
Were you surprised that it worked?
Not too really. I mean, he had some really good videos. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that that the soldering that I did that it worked the first time out of the So I did have to navigate through the menu. There's quite a fancy menu system that you have to go through, and you have to switch the different modes to get it to the right mode for the CoCo 3. But if you want to connect it to a CoCo 1 or 2, you still have to do some soldering because you have to take the cable that comes with it. And in his video, he talks about soldering it directly to the legs of the VDD chip. And I'm a little hesitant about wanting to solder to the chip. So what I'm planning on doing is taking a 40-pin socket and soldering the wires to the socket, put the socket onto the system board, because I'm going to socket the CoCo that I'm going to use this with. Then I can put the socket into a socket and put the chip on top of that, kind of stacking it up a little bit. So, so that could be, it could be attached to any CoCo, but there's soldering no matter which model you go with.
Right. That's it, because we had Aaron on the show and he was talking about this project. So it is kind of cool. To me, like it's less necessary on a CoCo 3, but it's still cool. But yeah, like it's really cool to be able to take a CoCo 2 and ultimately have RGB output and HDMI output on a CoCo 1 or 2, and then also emulates the artifacting and whatnot too, right? So kind of like what the CoCo VGA does, you can get your red and blue colors out of that over RGB, which is kind of
cool. Out of curiosity, Stevie, compared with getting the SCART and the SCART adapter, what's the cost of getting that all combined versus this?
I don't know. I don't remember what a switcheroo costs. So let's just say roughly the SCART to HDMI adapter is about $35.40. I think the switcheroo might be $35.40. So for $80, roughly you'd have it on. If Jason's still here, he can tell me exactly. I don't remember what I paid for my switcheroo. It's been so long.
But they're competitive, and it looks like the switcheroo has the additional capability than the composite.
We have real artifacts, and
whereas this one has the ability to also hook up your CoCo 1 and 2. So it's kind of, I guess it depends what your case is.
Right. The nice thing about, you can look at that SCART to HDMI box as, well, that's just an added expense. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as, once you have that, that's a Swiss Army knife, because every vintage system out there has an RGB to SCART cable at this point in time. You know what I mean? Because SCART is just so common. SCART is analog RGB. And just about every 80s and 90s system supports some form of analog RGB output, or can be, tapped into to get analog RGB. So to have that RGB to HDMI box, it just becomes, a utility for not only your CoCo, but for anything else retro,
Yeah, it's just too bad SCART didn't take off in North America when it was originally out. Otherwise, we'd have it all built in our TVs like they do here.
Yeah.
So you have a Raspberry Pi you can play with there too, then?
I mean, like
Yeah,
a
Pi
Raspberry
400.
Pi 2 or like a 2 or a 3 Raspberry Pi?
You also have,
No.
you're saying you also have a Raspberry Pi. Is that what you meant, Ron?
No.
You have a
No,
Raspberry?
I'm saying it's in there. You could repurpose it for something else if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could pop a different SD card in there, and you can use it for another project or another purpose. Certainly.
Right. Okay.
All right. What else you got for show and tell? And then Terry Steege also mentions he's got something he wants to show off.
That's all I'd like to share with you all today.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian Wieseler, for that. That is a lot of interesting things. Before we move on to Terry, I don't know if this is because I missed last week's show, but you guys did talk about the passing of George, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And one of the
we
things
showed him pictures.
Yeah, one of the things I was mentioning to Brian when I caught him on Discord this week, because last week I was, for those who are not familiar with all the stuff I've got going on, for the past 2 months, it's been packing up the house to tear up the floors, to get new floors put in, and then we had the house painted, and now that the inside of the house is painted, then last weekend I spent the weekend pulling everything out of the garage that was in the garage, because our house has been packed away, so all this construction can happen. So in the process of unpacking last week and putting things back on shelves, I found some stuff that George had sent me. And I remember meeting George maybe at my first CoCoFest, which was, I think, was 2016. And usually when you meet somebody, you're like, hey, well, when did you get into the CoCo? What was the first thing you did what do you love about the CoCo? You'll hear one of those kind of origin stories. But the first thing that George told me was, because he knew that I knew Curtis. He's like, let me tell you something about that Curtis Boyle. He's like, this guy took Seamus and converted it to RGB for me so I could play it on my CM8. That's the first thing the guy told me when I first met him. I mean, he was so enamored with the fact that you patched his favorite game to run on the CM8. It's hard to imagine that there was a time where we didn't have emulators and we didn't have this, and so we had to run things on a real CoCo. And if you had a real CoCo with the CM8 and those games were black and white, it kind of sucked, right? So you made his freaking day, his week, his world by patching.
Yeah, he sent me a copy of the disc, by mail.
So I was going through my CoCo stuff, putting it back on the shelf. He had mailed me a copy of the disc, and he wrote me a little note saying, thanks to yours truly and Curtis Boyle, you can now play Seamus and RGB on your CM8. So he had mailed me all that. And you had made such an impression on him by fixing that one game. It seemed like the most seemingly insignificant thing or simple thing that we can do sometimes has such a powerful impact on people's lives.
Yeah, I figured it had been 15 years since I've seen him, since I was at a previous CoCoFest. I didn't think he'd even remember who I was. Never mind.
But that was the first thing he had to say to me. He was like, man, that Curtis Boyle, man, he fixed Seamus for me. It was just like, oh, wow. So, and it was just so ironic because I know you guys were talking about him on the show and I wasn't on the show, but I had my little George moment that same day when I was going through my stuff. But, all right. So on that note, we also have a guy who collects a thing or two as well. He's no Brian Wieseler. All right. Let's just get things straight, right? So when it comes to collecting, there is Brian Wieseler and there's everyone else. This is one of those other people. Terry Steege has what some people might call a problem. But how you doing, sir? Bless your heart, by the way.
Bless your heart. And I'm just a wannabe. That's all I am compared to Brian. So
it's his world. We just visit it from time to time. So yeah.
Well, and apparently Brian and I are making this show suck because that's kind of what
look at that.
But I was fortunate enough to get a PC that was the last PC ever branded Tandy. It's a Model 2100 Model 10.
Ooh.
I'm still working on it, but it had a really interesting problem on the motherboard, and I was going to show you guys what I had done. Won't boot up, but it has a real-time clock chip.
No. Okay.
Right there.
Dallas Semiconductor.
Yeah.
The problem is the battery is built into this chip.
Did the battery implode or whatever? dry up?
Well, it just is dead. It won't work anymore.
Right.
You can buy new chips, but the problem is they're old stock. The batteries are bad in them.
Old batteries too.
I bought me a.
You got
me a new Dremel.
Okay.
And actually, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not.
Going in
on the chip. It's probably not going to show up. But
are you dremeling into the chip?
Yep. Basically, you Dremel into the side of the chip, and you cut the battery leads, and I then
you can tap into an external battery.
Yep. I just got one of these little. Just as a 9-volt.
Gotcha.
It has a switch on it. It's kind of nice. But I then epoxied where I had cut after I got it all soldered, and lo and behold, the thing worked after I had to replace one of the capacitors. But
what
so anyway,
the hell is going on here? That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
I was pretty happy that little project worked. But anyway, just was shocked that.
Now what's going on? What's the is that a CoCo with the red thing? Is that your Vader CoCo back there behind?
Yeah, that's Vader. Yep.
And what's it propped up on? Because it looks like it's got a deeper body. Almost looks like a dragon back to it. Is there something behind it?
It just has a little stand thing on it.
All right. Yeah. All right.
And I don't know that I ever showed it, but I also have my one-off.
The Vader Mega Mini MPI, huh?
Yeah,
did you paint that?
Ed made the black one for me.
Ed
just
made it for you black. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, so I don't want to make you jealous or anything, but I do have a Jar Jar Binks CoCo.
You can keep that Jar Jar Binks. Now, if you had Boba Fett, we'll talk.
Is that a special edition of the speech sound cartridge?
And you
Do
have
you
a
actually
couple of...
use that CoCo every day?
Yep, that's my daily driver anymore, Ron.
Cool.
That's cool. Okay, that's cool. So you got some stuff. Is that it, Terry, or are you?
Yep, that's the main thing I've been working on.
All right. Well, bless your heart.
And bless your heart.
Bless your heart. So that's
James
cool.
Jones in the chat says, "Misa so jealous."
So jealous. Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. So we got a little early head start on the updates and acquisitions. If sometime throughout the show somebody has something they want to share that they forgot to and it just comes to you or whatever, we can always do more acquisitions and show and tell later on. But it is time for the world's favorite part of our show, which is the Samuel Gimes Game On results video of CoCoThoughts and the Game On results with Canadian retro things and all that good stuff. And so we're going to do that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's a new CoCoThoughts. By the way, what was the game this week? I missed last week's show and I have not had a chance to play the catch-up. What game did the world play this week? Defender. Okay. All right. So the game this week was Defender. Perfect, which I had no idea. All right. Shows you how in tune I am with what's going on in this show. All right. So Samuel Gimes followed with Game On results. Let's see what Samuel Gimes is up to this week.
And now, CoCoThoughts by Samuel Gimes.
Oh, 9 Inch Nails.
I played Defender today to see if I could deal. I focus on the game.
Oh wow, this is an obscure cut.
And not let landers steal. Hyperspace tears a hole. Across the screen I wing. Try to kill them all away. But I cannot hit anything. What key should I press? So I descend. I'm always facing the wrong way. In the end. And I can't save them all.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
I'm ever on alert. They will all fall down. This game will make you hurt.
Oh, that is so good.
I wonder what Johnny Cash would think.
Is this still going?
I fly through swarms of pods.
Especially if you played Defender.
And brighter's over there. Swarmers break my ship. I cannot repair. Bombers and landers fly. The humans disappear. They're now something else.
Oh.
I am still right here.
I want this soundtrack.
What
man.
have you become? My mutant friend. Everyone I know attacks me in the end, and I can't save them all. I'm ever on alert. They will all fall down. This game will make me hurt. If I could start again, a million quarters away, I would change my game. Zaxxon, I will play.
Oh man, game over. Oh. That was, oh my God, that was one of the longest running Samuel Gimes song parodies there. For those who don't know, that's a cover of Johnny Cash's cover of Nine Inch Nails' songs Hurt. So that's more of the Johnny Cash slowed down version of it. But, and that's such a great song. I want to get that karaoke track. That is so good. And he did such a good song, did such a good job kind of not only just, just mirroring the real lyrics to fit the game. And, oh, man, that just really, really good. Oh, man, good job, Samuel Gimes. Man, just kept the mood of that, and you really felt his pain playing this game and as it came through and the emotions of that lyric there. Great job, Samuel Gimes. All right, so now we're going to get into the results. Apparently, Defender made some of you hurt this week, so let's see who rose above the pain and how we did on our scores.
High Score Challenge with
Nick Marotta.
Welcome everyone to the results of this week's Game On Challenge. Where we played Defender. There were 16 participants. We had Gary M with 1,250. Wieseler B with 1,900. Mr. Dave 6309, 6,125. Rich N 6,725. CRT 9,525. Buck Owens 10,325. Jim Rye 10,700. Sloopy Malibu 13,775. Pedro Pena 15,125. Just Mike 15,525. Tom C 16,350. Kieran 19,025.
Way to go, Kieran.
Erroneous 19,575. Tasman Scott Cooper 21,475. Managing to grace us with a score just before the closing bell as he was eating supper, L. Curtis Boyle with 38,300. And the number one score this week goes to Z9K9 with 156,550. Well done with that
and the video
score,
to
Z9K9. And a special thank you to Gary M. for tabulating the scores this week, keeping track of them, and making this program that displayed the scores.
Nice. Cool job. Cool. All right. Good scores. Tom C. from Jersey out there. All right. That's good to see. A lot of players. So, yeah, I missed the whole announcement. I knew that Defender was in the works because Glenn had been blogging about it and things like that. I hadn't had a chance to look at it yet. But so I'm assuming he talked about that on his interview.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And what his next project is going to attempt to be.
And what is his next project going to be?
Robotron.
Ooh, cool. Very cool. And neat. So who's got tips and tricks for the game? Because I haven't played it yet on the CoCo.
Curtis, you played it while you were eating, so that's got to be the best trick of all.
Well, that's kind of a misnomer. I brought food up with me because I was taking a break from work. And I would play the game. You die so often in that game that I would take like 2 minutes to play, and then I'd have a couple bites of a sandwich, and then play for 1 minute and die, and then have another bite of the sandwich. So it was more like task switching, not multitasking.
Oh, okay. That sounds more believable.
Yeah. As far as tips, the only real tips I have is that you have to get used to hammering on the fire button like mad. You have to get used to using the reverse controls. Definitely redefine the keys. Like if you're playing on an emulator or a real CoCo, definitely pick whatever works best for you. The default ones that Glenn has for the keyboard on the real CoCo are close to what I wanted, but not quite. So I swapped a few keys around.
Yeah.
I use the smart bomb a lot more often than I use hyperspace. So I made that the space bar so I can hit it with either hand no matter what was going on.
That's what I did too.
Yeah. So that helped a bit. And I think I moved hyperspace to the enter key, which is a little bit larger, so you can hit it a bit easier. But you have to really learn how to use reverse. That is a critical thing, both for firing at landers before they pick up humans, but also when you're getting chased by baiters and stuff that actually travel faster than you. If you do some rapid reverses, you can kind of throw them off for a second or two, and that gives you some time to line them up and shoot them or get away or whatever. The one trick, which actually Z9K9 actually showed, which I did not even know back in the arcade days, is if you shoot a pod and it breaks apart into swarmers, if you let them fly just past you, then you immediately reverse and start following them, they don't come back at you. You can actually just go up and down, just pick them off with your leisure, as long as you're not going to get by something else. And I did not know that trick. Oh. And that's the reason my score, improved literally about 15,000 from when I was testing it for Glenn a couple of weeks ago. So that was a nice trick. So thanks to Z9K9, who obviously was pretty good at it in the arcade to be able to rack up 156,000, which he put the video up in Discord to show everybody that he did it too. He's wicked at that game. Holy cow.
He left us all in the dust.
Yeah. Hey, basically, if you want tips, go watch his video in Discord and the Game On Challenge channel. Okay. That's about all I can say.
Cool. Very cool.
So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say it's going to be coming up in the news too, but another nice thing he did, I know a lot of people were saying they would prefer it on joystick, and the reason he didn't do that, as he explained during the interview, is he wanted to capture the feel of the original game. Like having to have to do reversed and thrust separately was part of what made Defender. And if you switch the joystick, that's all gone.
Part of what made it a quarter muncher.
Yeah, it was the first $1 billion grossing machine in the history of video games in the arcade. Yeah. So I'll give you an idea. But he's actually published the source code to both it and Joust on his GitHub, which we'll cover in the news later on too. So if anybody wants to go muck with it and change the code to enable joystick support, they can.
I think Nick Barentes was going to do that, weren't you, Nick?
Oh, one day.
So really fun game this week. Hard as it was in the arcade.
Yep.
So I didn't have a lot of tips and tricks for playing it because I didn't do that well, but
it's still a fun game though. It's definitely difficult. You will not last long in the game unless you really practice, but when you get that swooping down and you rescue human just before he hits the ground, is about to explode, you actually get a sense of like, right on, I did that type of thing. Like, and the feeling of flight, actually, because of the reverse and thrust, it's not turn on a dime like some arcade games are. It was kind of like the whole Lancer versus buzzer bait debate. Like Lancer feels better to me. Defender feels good with the type of controls it has, even though they suck for playing really well.
Oh, it feels very authentic.
So this might be something where on an emulator you could use an Xbox controller and map multiple buttons or something like that.
Some people did do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And you can also, of course, remap the keys to whatever keyboard you have, because if you have a laptop keyboard or an extended desktop keyboard, you might want totally different key sequences than what the CoCo would normally use.
Cool stuff, man. Robotron on the because I know the question had come up on Facebook this week too. It's like, oh, we got these games coming out, then why aren't there more, or why wasn't there more back in the day, and I think we realize now that technologically it is possible to make a CoCo 3 pretty much recreate just about anything that was in an 8-bit arcade machine within reason, because we've seen a lot of examples of that, and so but. Even though it takes the time, it takes somebody time to do it. They need to have the time and the energy and the dedication to doing it. So while technologically it seems to be mostly possible, you need the people with the time and the talent to do it.
Yeah. Well, something Glenn pointed out in his interview that really helped him was that the source code for Joust and Defender has been released now.
Okay.
So stuff you were guessing at when you were disassembling, trying to figure out, especially copy protection and stuff like that, which is what was crashing before. Now you actually have commented source code from the originators. And now you can actually tackle it a lot easier and know exactly what you're getting into.
Right.
Yeah,
sorry, Bo,
to a certain extent, you're standing on the shoulders of giants, is what you're doing. I mean, you have the whole library of everything that has been discovered about the system and the hardware to work from. So, of course, you also bring a tremendous amount of talent to the table, like Glenn has, but also being able to have the benefit of 40 years of accumulated CoCo knowledge plus the source code, like you said. I remember when the Defender source code was leaked, and it would be interesting to know how much Glenn relied on that as he was
quite a
doing
bit
the transcode. Yeah,
if you go through his source code, he's actually got the original Defender source code commented in there, because there's a few things like the screen sideways as far or something like that, the way it's written. The screen's
because that source code was leaked this year. I mean, it was pretty recently. Yeah.
And also the other thing to remember is, I mean, doing all this work and he's just releasing it and making no money off of it. So
right. Which, when it comes to something like this, that's the right way to do it, because it's not really his program.
Exactly, but it's a lot of work to do for
absolutely.
no
technically,
pay.
he can't sell it, but if he had like a PayPal or Patrons, people wanted to, like to do on the Sci-Fi Radio, buy us a cup of coffee type thing.
Yeah.
If you want to make a donation, there's nothing wrong with people throwing him a bone for his efforts.
Somebody should send him a GIME-X.
Yeah, right. No, it's cool. So yeah, I mean, it brings up the question: what else could we do on the CoCo? And even without all these sprite boards and other things that are coming out, even on a stock bare metal CoCo, there's a lot of untapped potential. It's just having the right people with the amount of time to do it. And kind of like what Boat was saying, we live in a time now where you can take the ROMs, you can dump the ROMs, you can dump all the assets of the sprites and the tiles and the sounds, and so you can get all the pieces of the puzzle very easily now. And there's all kinds of tools to do image conversions. And so all that stuff makes getting the pieces together, but still producing the program still takes talent and time. And we don't have that many people with the talent and the time to do it. There are definitely a lot more consumers than there are creators in our community right now. So it's just like, it's great to have a wish list, but let's also be grateful for what we currently have too,
Yeah, I mean, and Glenn's picking games that he likes.
Right.
Robotron being one of his favorites. Now that one's a bit worried about because there's way more sprites on the screen to worry about here, and I think it actually had a blitter-assisted hardware chip, whereas Defender did not. So he's a bit worried about that one. So of course I just mentioned, the 609 might help you with that. So if it's a choice between not doing it and making it 609 only, where my loyalties lie.
Right. Well, it is now, but when does a CoCo stop being a CoCo?
When I say so.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know, 6309 just sounds like a distortion to me. So, all right, cool. What else we got going on? So, who else played? Who's got some thoughts, comments on playing the game?
I got comments.
You got comments, Roundtable?
Yes, I do.
All right.
9-inch nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, wow. Wow, the gloves are off. Roundtable holding no punches there. 9-inch nails on a chalkboard. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's how, and it was long.
All right. Well,
more for you to enjoy, Ron.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Or you could have gotten a cup of coffee or gone to the bathroom or.
Yeah, there's your break time. You missed it now. You're going to be on for 3 hours.
So straight. Samuel Gimes says, then go play WeFax.
No one noticed, but I did have the screen off, and I did go.
Wow.
See, that segment's designed for you.
Well,
Oh, I
Mr.
see.
Gimes, I appreciate what Mr. Gimes did for us this week. There are a lot.
Well, I
went into that.
appreciate what he did because
Yeah.
it gives me something to talk about.
Now, Mr. Alan Murphy, you had some comments in the chat I think you should repeat out loud, too, for the podcast listeners about Defender.
You talking about the fact that it's the most iconic sounds in video game history?
Yeah, well, just some of the general things like you mentioned about Defender in general and the fact we got it on the CoCo. So,
Okay, I don't know which comments you mean.
well, what the the part about the sound is one. I mean, that was one thing, and I think I mentioned it on last week's show. When
Yeah,
you were in the
you hear that
arcade, when
sound.
you heard that Defender sound going in the background, even in its attract mode, you knew instantly there was a Defender cabinet somewhere in the arcade.
And they always had it really loud.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's,
The Bader Sizzle is the winner. If I remember right, there was a consumer electronics type or some sort of national video game show or something around that time that actually awarded Defender a pretty huge prize because of the sound design. And that was one of the things that they worked on for Stargate to make sure they didn't break.
Yeah.
Stargate being the sequel
Defender
to
clone,
Defender.
or the Defender sequel. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's not-
Sometimes it was called Defender 2, actually, even in the arcade.
Yep.
Right. Not to be confused with the motion picture and several sci-fi miniseries or TV series, right? Stargate. Cool stuff. Yeah, I did not get a chance to play it. I got a lot of catching up to do once all the dust is settled in my home stuff. Looks cool.
But Boat, you got a chance to play it, and I want to get your opinion on it because you guys just did a special on Glen's transcode last week on This Week in Retro of Joust, and just missed the deadline when he released Defender. I think literally a day or two after you released the show.
Yeah. I wish I did. You know this was coming, Curtis? Could you?
Yes, I
include
did, but
me
I didn't
in?
know the date. That was one thing I didn't know yet because we
yeah.
were still doing the beta testing.
I think we kind of rushed Glenn a little bit to get it out so we could do a Glen Hewlett doubleheader.
I kind of hinted to him that, but he said he was fairly certain, but not for sure they'd be able to get it done. So I said, well, no panic if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have. Hopefully next time, maybe he can spread the word to you a little early, and you can give it to me on the down low, so I can get that out there, because it would be great to release a This Week in Retro with that as the lead story, because that's reaching thousands of people every week, and I'd love to be able to spread Glen's releases out a little bit, but I loved it. I couldn't get it to work on my Mister. I'm the only one. Everybody else got it to work on their Mister. I couldn't, but I loaded it up in BCC. I've only got 128 CoCo 3. So, it boggles the mind why Williams decided to release this machine with the control system that it did instead of just a regular 4-way stick and a button, 2 buttons, one for fire and one for hyperspace, because when you have that, the game becomes so much more playable and so much more fun. So I love it.
I think one of the reasons that they released it like that is because 40 years later, we're still talking about the controls for it. So.
Yeah, you might have a point there. And they wanted it to eat quarters. And I'm telling you, when you play it that way, it does.
Yeah.
I feel like I spent like $50 just playing it on my CoCo.
Yeah, me too. And that was just in my 45 minutes after having lunch.
And what we need is someone to make a custom joystick that plugs into both joystick ports on a CoCo 3 and gives you an up-down joystick and 4 fire buttons.
Yeah.
Specifically for Defender.
Yeah.
Mr. Dave 6309.
Yep.
Get to work on that.
Well, he's got that keyboard extension where actually you can remap the keys. So you actually could hook up joysticks.
He's actually made a split joystick board where it's one side does up and down, the other does left and right. So that wouldn't be that hard to change that to something.
Doesn't Neil Blanchard have something? He has
it's a
joystick with the buttons and
It's
stuff.
basically an arcade style joystick that plugs into a CoCo, but I don't think it does dual personality or dual ports or anything.
I think it's just using arcade hardware like a red ball joystick, real arcade buttons, and a wooden cabinet that just plays like a deluxe joystick.
Something like that could also be adapted, I would imagine, right? So
Unfortunately, I have a Gamester and I tried it, and it doesn't help with Stargate or Defender because you don't have enough buttons in the right places. But I did have to give that a thing. The ability to smack the arcade buttons, just like you were on the real controls, that works well. And the Gamesters can take the abuse. But there's not enough buttons to do it because it's actually just mapped with the 2 buttons for the CoCo 3.
And that's why I said to actually have it plug into both joystick ports, so
Right.
you get 4 buttons.
Right.
Yeah. Then you have to patch the game. So you got a couple
Then you'd
patches
have
to
to
do there,
patch
Nick. You
the
better
game,
get on
yeah.
it.
And we need the Robotron custom controller.
Right.
It
You need the 2 sticks
Yeah.
for Robotron and
could- twin stick.
Actually, one thing Nick brought up
Just
last
tape
week
2
was
Black
Robotron.
Beauties together.
One thing Nick brought up about Robotron next week, we need something like we've got that little slice of silicone or whatever that actually holds the multi-pack and the CoCo together so it doesn't jog around.
Yeah.
You're going to need something to hold 2 joysticks to play Robotron.
Right.
Because that's
Yeah,
going to go sliding all over your
mount
damn
the 2
desk.
joysticks.
Well,
Yeah.
duct tape works.
Elegant.
Yeah, but something a bit more elegant.
yeah.
That's a T-shirt.
Use
Ken.
black duct tape
Yeah, black
on
duct
the Black
tape,
Beauty.
maybe a C-clamp them to your desk, and boom, you're done. That's like this.
Rattle
That's a
can.
shop project right
Anti-clamps.
there. So boom.
You'll have to have an Australian name.
I have something that holds 2 Atari joysticks like that.
Cool. Do we have any more Defender discussions, or do we want to talk about what next week's game is?
Just a big thank you to Glenn for
Oh,
turning that one
absolutely.
around so fast after
Yeah.
getting Joust out.
Yeah.
And after working on it for 3 years and getting frustrated and quitting for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You know,
I was
what's happening today right now is reminding me of moments we had back in the early days of the CoCo. Every now and then there was just something that came out that made you really proud of your machine. You know, when you
Like
were
CoCo Max as an example.
You know, CoCo
Yeah.
Max and Dungeons of Daggerath. But every now and then there was that standout product that where anybody who was naysaying against our machine, oh, my Commodore's better, blah blah blah, whatever it was. There was things back then that we could show off, and people are like, wow, you know, the CoCo is pretty cool. And so we have those moments back in the 80s and the 90s that we're having them again now. And so like when we were at VCF Midwest and we were showing off Joust playing on a CoCo, people were really impressed with that. They're like, wow, this is the real Joust. You know, Jason had a setup where he had Sockmaster's Donkey Kong Remix on one CoCo. So we had the real Donkey Kong playing on a CoCo, and then we had the real Joust playing on CoCo. So even now people are impressed. Like, wow, I can't believe this is running on an 8-bit system and this is running on a CoCo. And you know, so it's neat that we're still having these moments where these breakout things are making us really proud of what this machine can do, you know. And
It's run off the SDC, which is also awesome.
oh yeah, Daddy Burrito's out there, Erico's out there. Hey everybody.
And I did get a few comments that if we had only released stuff like this back in the day, there'd still be CoCos today, brand new ones.
Right. Well, the development process to do it back then would have been a lot more difficult.
It would have been.
Not having
but
the disassemblies and the cross-development tools and the emulators and debuggers and all that kind of stuff. So,
Plus, you had to learn the intricacies of the chips and stuff too. Like that's a learning process. You just don't.
It is.
Figure out the tricks.
But it's definitely has blown a lot of people away that the little CoCo computer did this.
Yeah, little computer that still can and continues
Yep.
to, you know. So.
Yep. I think that's why retro's taking off now, because I mean, with modern operating systems, you're constantly getting updates. You write software, it breaks the next time a Windows update or a Mac OS 10 update or whatever comes out. And this way, you have something that's kind of more fixed in time, though we're still updating some things on it. But you can keep learning and learning and learning the hardware right down to the final nub, where you're squeezing every last ounce of performance out of it. And that's happening on all retro systems. I mean, we're seeing some of the best games ever on every retro system right
like
now.
there's so many things on the Atari 2600 now where they're like, wow, I can't believe that's happening on an Atari 2600. You know, they've done better Pac-Mans and Donkey Kongs and all kinds of stuff on that system. So yeah,
The next CoCo game, the final nub.
the final nub. Yes.
I think no matter what retro system you're a fan of, there's never been a better time to be a retro enthusiast than now, just because there are so many things happening on the homebrew scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
All right, so-
have we beat it to death? Are we ready to reveal next week's game?
I think so.
Are you going to share something with us, Ken, or are you just going to tell
I
us?
will share something with you.
All right. And by the way, Nick Marotta, we miss you and look forward to having you back when your schedule permits it.
Yep, definitely. So this is the game for next week.
What the hell is that?
Dungeons.
Oh, is that Dungeons? I couldn't tell because I'm
That's-
not used to seeing it in artifact mode.
Yeah, you have the option of doing it a couple different ways, depending on like if you're running on a PAL system versus.
Okay. This is Karen's port.
Yeah, and Karen's our guest interview next week, so good time.
So
Excellent.
yeah,
How fortuitous.
Now, one thing about that game is that you can play up to 4 players at once, and if you are playing more than one player, the other players can revive you if you die. So this week's game will be a single death game. So even if you're playing with other people, your score when you die the first time. Just because if you're playing with another person, they can just revive you and you can get a higher score.
Yeah, somewhere I have the cassette of that. He did a run of a cassette copy of Dungeons that was printed with a nice, J-card, multi-fold thing. And
yep.
I was looking up on my shelf somewhere. I probably have it somewhere. I just can't see it right now. I was going to show that off. I'll have to try to find it between now and next week. But I know he's released a version that also supports the Game Master cartridge because he did some kind of cool title music like a mod player or kind of like a SID player title song before. So what version are we playing? Are we playing one with the background music, or does it matter? Or
that shouldn't matter. From what Karen's told me, the code's the same.
But depending on which character you play, there are different controls for each character, since you can play up to 4 players at once. So in his documentation that is with the download, read that because it tells you the keys.
Okay. Right.
Or the joysticks.
It's kind of like this loose gauntlet style thing where you can have up to 4 characters playing at the same time.
One big difference between it and Gauntlet, though, like Gauntlet, you had to have all 4 players in the same area of the maze.
Right. And this one
on the screen at once. This one, everybody can run off in their own direction, completely different parts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because it's 4 screens on your one display.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a port of an original, what is it, a Spectrum game, I believe?
BBC, I think.
BBC
Micro.
BBC Micro.
Didn't the front page have a nice looking artwork?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it does. See if I didn't want to show that because it would tell the name of the game, but let's see if I can load that up.
That's what I appreciate. I start the game, look at the front, and go, yeah, nice. Then I go to another game and I do the same thing because I don't play.
Right. Okay, and there is the front artwork.
Dungeons, yeah. So that's the way I'm used to seeing it in the kind of dragon color palette, the P-Mode 3 color palette. I wasn't used to seeing it in Artifact.
That screenshot was from level 2, I believe. So
that's neat. Cool stuff.
So an adventure game for next week.
Cool.
Yep. And next week we have, of course, Karen will be our interviewee, and we're going to have special guest interviewers joining us, Stuart Orchard and Bosco.
All right,
Steve Bamford will be on to help interview Karen.
Nice.
And he'll be talking about we're talking about Dungeons. We'll be talking about Blockdown, his more modern Tetris clone, and he'll be talking about X4 in particular because he's been adding a ton of CoCo 3 stuff to X4 lately, even on the online version. So we'll be talking about that.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, and so Ron Klein has been updating the Coco Pi project almost daily now too, with all the X-Roar updates and MAME updates and everything else. So yeah, CoCo Pi is getting a lot of traction there too.
I want to thank Ron Klein for fixing my computer without actually having to see it or do anything. He just, in the update, it worked for me.
What was that, the menu launcher? Or
yeah, the menu launcher didn't work on mine for some reason.
Okay.
But the update he did made it work.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ron's a multi-talented guy. We got a lot of really talented people in our community. Good stuff. All right, so next week's game is Dungeons. Nice... from across the pond there. Nice UK edition. Cool stuff.
Yep. And if any of you playing the game this week have questions for the author, he'll be on too. So.
Right. All right. Well, we have news to cover and other things to cover. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm going to see. I don't know if it's going to pick up where we left off because I paused Who's New to Discord. I hope it picks up where it left off. We'll run some more of that, and then we'll come back with some Game On news and some news. And if it starts over completely, then I'll just run a different commercial. Let's see what happens here.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord This Week?
And now these messages. It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas.
This year, I needed to give a real family pleaser.
Honey, please help me with this budget.
How about a new game, Dad? Please.
And I found it. Radio Shack's Color Computer 2. On sale for just $99.95. It entertains, educates, manages, it's expandable, and affordable. Now that really pleases me.
The Color Computer 2. Sale priced for Christmas. Only at Radio Shack.
Hi, I'm Kieran Anscombe, author of XRAW, and your brain is resolving sensory input into CoCoTALK.
At Gsoft, we make games for the TRS-80 color computer, TRS-80 MC10, and Dragon computers. Our basic games cover the range of genres from arcade, to text adventures, to simulations, to 3D dungeon crawls. This is our latest puzzle game from Japan, Fruit Panic. So come on and drop by our website and download our latest games.
Tired of switching your joystick between the left and right port? Want to change between different controllers? Well, Joey has got you covered. The Joey Controller Switch. Take control of your controllers with the flip of 2 switches. Order today at cocoman.biz. And now, CoCoThoughts by Samuel Gimes. Legend says, when the moon is full, if you go out in the country by the lake and whisper the name of Nick Marotta 3 times, his spirit will appear and he will grant you a product idea.
Radio Shack has a great gift idea for the whole family. Fast action TV games, and they're on sale. Get this 6-game model for $29.95 or the 4-game model for $21.95. With rising entertainment cost, that's a real bargain. You play hockey, tennis, squash, and more. Easy to hook up and great family fun that lasts all year long. The sale price TV games. Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Hi, I'm Terry Steege, author of Balloon Fire and other amazing games on the color computer. And you're listening to Stevie Stroh on CoCoTALK.
All right, everybody, we're back with more Game On, and L. Curtis Boyle is going to bring us the latest in gaming news. Take it away, L. Curtis Boyle.
Alrighty then. So the first one up is that the next the CoCo show has been released.
Sorry, what an abomination.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for that. My eyes are hurting.
Warn us next time.
It's all the sunlight off the gleaming dome. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So basically, you guys did Mudpies, actually not too long after we did it as our Game On challenge. So I won't play the video, but if you want to do a little bit of an introduction there, Bo.
Yeah, so, Mudpies, before going in, I just thought this was yet another example of the glorious history of the CoCo and its, homage series to other arcade games. But Mudpies is pretty significantly different than Food Fight. I found it to be kind of a mishmash of Food Fight and Berserk because of the way that you're avoiding the enemies, the multiple rooms, etc. So, I thought that this was this is one that truly stands on its own. It's not just a clone of an existing game.
Yeah, and you guys actually also touched on to the fact that this is one of the earliest Atari ST ports, and the original programmers of the CoCo one did the ST version for.
That's right. This game only received, as far as I know, it only received one additional port, and that was to the ST. So it would be interesting to know if there were any other games that only appeared on the CoCo and the Atari ST.
Yeah, because a little bit later in Mictron's history, they started doing like Time Bandit. They ported that to the Amiga and the ST and the PC. And
Cool.
I mean, it's a good half-hour show on it, and you guys both enjoyed it, and talking about the health meters and everything else was kind of unique, like we did on our coverage of it. And you guys have the next one's already pre-recorded, and I think you guys are. Yeah,
Photon. Photon is going to be released here in a couple weeks. I believe it's going to come out on the October 18th. So be on the lookout for that. The CoCo show rolls on.
Cool. And then we get a boat twofer here. So this is a show we have not covered as often, and some people might not even know what it is. Do you want to explain what This Week in Retro is, what it covers, and then kind of go into what CoCo relation it had this last week?
Yeah, so me and Neil, otherwise known as RMC The Cave on YouTube, we about a year ago, we started doing the show because we realized there really wasn't a weekly roundup of the biggest stories in the retro news world at large. And so we do this show every week called This Week in Retro. And this week, the way that we select our stories, because there are so many things going on, as you guys know, that it would be impossible to give a full rundown. So we have a subreddit, and whatever stories get upvoted the most on the subreddit are the ones that we decide that we talk about. And this week, the Joust transcode actually made the cut. So we talk about the Joust transcode. I was just telling Curtis over the break that it's unfortunate that I didn't know that the Defender transcode was coming, because we would have just bumped it over and talked about Defender instead. But anyway, this show reaches a bunch of people, and it's hopefully it'll turn some of them on to the CoCo and the whole transcode scene in general that's going on right now in the CoCo.
Yeah, and you guys are both really good hosts. I mean, in Nick's case, I mean, he's got a huge audience. I mean, he's got, I don't know how many thousand subscribers type.
Yeah,
thing,
Neil is he's a full-time YouTuber. He's got over 100,000 subscribers. So we reach a pretty big audience. I would say mostly because of him. I'm not saying that I'm not an international YouTube sensation, but
we're not saying that at all. Nobody even thought that either. So that's
working
cool.
on it.
That's cool. And thanks for covering that, by the way. That's really cool. I
No
remember they shot us. I guess it was Neil or you both shot the email saying, "Hey, do you mind if we use a clip from CoCoTALK?" And I'm like, "Oh, absolutely. Go on, man. And whatever we can do to spread the word."
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving us permission for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, Stevie, in case they do get to Defender, are you going to make a video for that, or should we get somebody else?
I think Ken has.
Hasn't
Ken, haven't you done one, a Defender video?
Yeah, I did a Defender video last Monday or Tuesday. I think.
If I can get to one, I can. But luckily, there's one out there on the internet already, so it's not up. The world's
and
not
it's
gonna
been
depend
mentioned
on
in a few other videos. I think Mr. Lurch mentioned it in one of his videos, and
yeah, there's a couple of mentions of it coming up. Also, a fellow person from the Amigos Discord, Z9K9, of course, was our high score winner for Defender this week, stomping the rest of us in the ground, and he actually uploaded a video of that gameplay too on the Discord. So. That's another
I think if you
option.
actually added all of our scores together, he still beat us.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, he's been getting high scores over on the Amigos Discord. I mean, him and Buck Owens have been kind of fighting for first place on every game that comes out.
They trade off on every game. So yeah, it's hard to beat those guys.
Yeah, we're just in the shadows of giants here at this point.
Cool.
Or just make it so his eyes aren't closed.
Okay. There you go. So Joust made the rounds on a lot of podcasts. So this is the Retrocomputing Roundtable podcast. And it was actually a last minute add-on because I joined the show a few minutes in. I not joined the show, but I joined the chat YouTube live stream of it. And I mentioned that it was out. Now I know Blake in the lower right corner there, he's actually a member of our CoCo group on Facebook. And I can't remember if he's on our Discord, Blake Patterson. But he's one of the guys that actually on the panel that is into the CoCo these days. And what's his real name? Ottoman Express in the lower left there. He's actually a fellow Canadian, but he's also a person that had the CoCo 2 when he grew up. That was his first real machine that he got.
He has one behind him there.
No, that's a printer, I think. That's a.
Oh, there's a CoCo right by his right ear.
Oh, Blake's, you mean? Sorry.
Yeah, behind Blake.
I was looking at Ottoman's. What? Yeah, no, Blake actually is actively using it. So I mentioned in the chat that it was out, and they quickly took a look at it. And of course, Glen Hewlett's original video demonstrating it. And they were very impressed with it too. And kind of, basically stunned about the quality and how close it is to the arcade game. So that was another one that got the rounds here.
That's cool.
And this is that's Glen Hewlett's GitHub page, and he's actually got, as you can see, the top two lines there is the Joust CoCo 3 source code and the Defender CoCo 3 source code. So if you want to see how he did the magic, he's actually got the original code, as I mentioned earlier, from the actual Williams games embedded in the comments, and the remmed out when he had to change them, and if he didn't have to change something, and then he just left it, like some of the logic. The graphics are done differently. The original arcade hardware is a 256 color palette. He had to convert that to the 64 color palette in the CoCo. It's oriented differently. The res is a little bit different, and he had to shrink the scanner on the top by about half the height to get it to fit properly, even in the 225 line mode. One cool thing about Defender, like it doesn't actually have a sound chip like a traditional. It has a little sound board, which is a 6808, which is kind of a 6802, 6803 base thing, like the MC10, running basically ROMs with DAC samples on it. So it's basically the same way we do digitized samples on the CoCo. It was on a separate board. You'd send it a 1 byte code and say, code 5, play an explosion sound. And it would just go run off and do it on its own. And Glenn had to incorporate all that. But he actually got to copy the 8-bit samples over. And from what I understand from my brief look at the code, is that the samples in there are still 8-bit. Now we have to convert them to 6 to put them on the DAC. But that means with a very minor patch, we should be able to get it to play full 8-bit quality on, say, an Orchestra 90 if you happen to have one on one of the channels. So I might patch that at some point too. And then we have to get Nick, of course, to do his joystick overriding stuff.
He's a Beatles fan.
Yeah, Nowhere Man.
He's a real Nowhere Man, yeah. Cool. Thank you, Glenn.
Living in a nowhere land, Canada. This one here, and my Spanish absolutely sucks, so I can't really tell you too much about it. No, this is David Gisbert. It goes by Tromax on here. And he did an hour-long video about his Dragon 200, which, of course, is the what the Dragon got called when Eurohard brought it and started manufacturing in Spain after Dragon Data shut down. So he kind of goes through the machine a bit here, and you can see it here with the Dragon 200 label, and of course, slightly different colors and stuff there too. So he demonstrates various games. He's running it all on real hardware from all original cartridges. So this is where we get into a lot of the third-party cartridges from Spectral Associates, Computerware, Mark Data Products, Tom Mix on cartridge, which we didn't really get here in North America. And he goes through a bunch of these games and shows them all off shows you the original cartridge, plugs it in, slaps it in, and starts playing the game type thing. So for those of you who want to see some live Dragon action, it's pretty good. It's about an hour long, so lots of good gaming goodness in there.
Nice. Little LED indicator on there.
Yeah, the power on indicator. This next one here, this is Mr. Lurch's things on YouTube. This is the one that Ken was referring to. So that's Jason Weber, who's actually been in our CoCo group lately too.
G'day Internet, welcome back to another video, and Tandy. Just. In this video I want to cover off something I've actually wanted to cover since last September. If you remember a CoCo 3 video I did, I featured a couple of indie games by Nick Marentes, an Australian CoCo games developer.
Yeah, I'm playing this part here because Nick paid me.
It kind of got me thinking at the time that there is actually quite a vibrant homebrew and indie development community out there for the CoCo. Now, I know that the C64 and everything else always gets the highlights with new games that come out, but the CoCo is
Where's this guy at?
not
Jersey?
to be left
He's got an
behind.
accent.
Australia.
Crikey, he's from Jersey. Anyway, he covers some of Nick's. Basically, he's covering some of his favorite games that have played that have been released in the last year. So he's covering some of Nick's games because Nick, of course, did Pipes and he did Rally SG. He covers both transcodes from Glen Hewlett. Even showed a brief bit of 0 Hour from one of Nick's vlogs, and he covered Digger 3 as well, which he actually is his favorite game out of the batch that he's played so far. But of course, I mean, there's some other stuff too he didn't get into. Like I did send him a list. Like there's some of the CoCo VGA Poker Star or Poker Squares games and stuff, and then numerous others. A Space War that Rich, I can't remember his last name, did, but there's been a bunch of other ones too. I mean, it's been a busy year.
Yeah.
So he just kind of picked some of the best ones to show it off. So it's a really interesting video though, because he's new to a lot of these games here. He didn't even realize that Joust and Defender, he's never played arcade Joust before, which is just floors me. But he was saying these are really good, but he didn't realize how close to the arcade game they are. So the comment section was actually quite interesting to read too.
Nice to see the CoCo getting some love all over the place.
And this one came out as a bit of a surprise. I know Jay Cyril's been helping us do the documentation for the Nitrous 9 Ease of Use project. He's been working on, with Brett Gordon, that networking game, that isometric CoCo 3 game that's going to be networked.
Yeah.
And apparently he's also been working on converting the 8-bit guy's Petsky Robots game, which has a WAD 1 conversion, I think, the Apple II done by independent people. And he's actually working on the CoCo version of it. So he's got a couple screenshots just to show how far he's gotten. Now he's basing this on the original PET version, which is what the 8-bit guy's original version was, which is a monochrome machine.
Right.
But it's a monochrome machine with 40 columns. It requires a 320 screen to fully get the detail. So right now this is CoCo 3 only, using a 320 by 200 by 2 color mode. If he shrank the tiles and stuff down a bit, he could get it to run the CoCo 1 and 2. It sounds like at this point that's not something he wants to do because this is a lot faster because it's even byte offsets and stuff here too. But Yeah, I didn't even know he was doing this, so that was quite a surprise. So he just started and he was getting the the setup for the main screen, etc. So those of you who've seen the game, and it's been ported to a couple platforms. I think there's an Atari 8-bit version now too. I can't remember.
Is it in BASIC?
No, it's machine language. Like it's 4-way scrolling and the whole bit.
Yeah, I have it for the PET. It's available for the Apple II series, the Atari, almost all of the Commodore machines. There's works in progress for the Plus4 and the 128.
And the CoCo now.
And he's working on the Commander 16 port too, because
Yes.
he's making that computer himself with somebody else.
Cool. I
Does he
like
have to
the title
convert
screen.
the 6502 over to 6809 to do that, or?
Yeah, so far it's only on 6502 systems. The CoCo will be the first non-6502.
Yeah.
Right. I'd
But
like
basically,
to
for
know.
those of you who haven't seen it, it's a top view, but it's kind of an isometric 3D look. Like the walls, like you can see, like the robots drawn here, it's kind of like that. And it's a 4-way scroller. You're running around and doing various things, going between rooms and opening doors and collecting weapons and shooting things and stuff. So it's actually quite a fun game. You can check it out on the 8-Bit Guy's channel. He's got videos of it there. But he's been selling it. Stevie, did you see it when you were at VCF Midwest? Because I know he was selling it there and demonstrating.
I thought he was selling his Commander, whatever the hell it's called, game. I didn't see this there. I didn't really look too much at what he was selling, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
I know he was selling something, but I thought it was
he
his
had
other-
this.
his
He had this
MS-DOS
running on his Commander X16 there.
Okay.
How far he's gotten on it so far.
Okay.
Actually, I'll just stop sharing upstairs so we can show Sloopy because he's actually holding up the box for it.
Oh, that's cool.
Sloopy?
I like the cover. It's got kind of 1950s sci-fi look to it, right? Attack of the pet ski robots. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's good we're getting a port of that, so that's another new one coming up.
Yeah, I got the Apple version around here somewhere.
I hope that it includes the adapter that comes in this box.
What's the adapter?
It makes it so you can play with the Nintendo joystick.
Super Nintendo.
Super Nintendo joystick.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the Commodore version.
Nice
But
packaging.
you don't get that with the Apple version, so it's just with the
No.
Commodore versions.
Yeah, there's a adapter in the works for the Atari version, and they're working on something for the Apple also.
Oh, okay.
There's actually a guy in Germany that makes an Apple version. He goes from Nintendo to Apple. I have a couple of them.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, it's cool. That's another new game project going on for the CoCo that I wasn't even aware of until this week.
So is this an official port, or is this something that Jay just decided he's going to do on his own?
I think it's an official port from what I understand.
It's official because I saw in the Facebook chat, David Murray actually was in there. He said that because people were saying that this should be ported over, and he commented that he already sent his source code to somebody and somebody's working on it.
Okay.
So.
Cool.
So no expected time release or anything yet. No schedule, but it's definitely in the works and on its way.
Nice.
Thank you. Yes, you're too kind, and thank you.
Next up, we have a brief little video from Mr. Dave 609 who put this up in our Discord, and it shows some concept art, and he kind of scrolls through it on the CoCo to show a Battle City game clone, which is originally on a Nintendo, that he's thinking about doing with the CoCo 3. And he's got a couple other game projects on the go too, so he's starting to get like Nick and doing multiple things at once.
What the heck? That's very tile graphic-y looking.
Yeah. Basically, this is basically just loading in a screen that's larger than the screen that
Right,
just hardware
just
scrolling
scrolling
through it just
through
to
it,
show
yeah.
what it looks like.
Yeah.
You see the tank there in the bottom, brick walls,
Yeah.
trees, etc.
That's cool. Very cool.
Next up here, Sheldon MacDonald's also working on. He's working on a 3D engine right now
Yeah,
for
I
the
saw
4-color
that.
mode.
That's neat.
Unfortunately, you got a lot of banding on your, but like you're driving through a little car or
Yeah.
something, tank or whatever, in a 3D.
Yeah, the rotation on this thing is real smooth.
And then he's got a second video, which is kind of demonstrating the same thing, if I remember. Well, it's supposed to play anyway.
Grand Theft Coco, John Lowry says. Grand Theft Coco.
For some reason it's not playing.
He's a
Facebook
talented
yet.
man, too, that Sheldon MacDonald.
Anyway, what this one does is just take the word CoCo and just rotates it around. Basically.
that's
so it's,
cool.
it's experimenting with the 3D
Neat.
algorithms and stuff. We've seen 3D games like Rommel 3D, Rommel's Revenge, Firecopter is another one on the CoCo 1 and 2 before. His actually, from what I saw in that previous video he showed, I think he's even got some line of sight stuff, because when he drove into the alcove, like the outside walls disappeared, so you couldn't see past it. So I'm not sure if that's just a trick he did, or if he's actually checking to see what's visible beyond a wall type thing, which is a bit more advanced than most of the others did. Most of them were completely wireframe see-through
Sure.
stuff.
Right.
I think he does it in steps of 8, doesn't he? The rotation.
Yeah, he did that for faster calculation to make the table smaller. He mentioned that in the comments. Oh, there it is.
CoCo. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, because doing it with these smaller increments, like Nick said, actually makes the table smaller, makes it much faster to render, because you're not doing the, exquisite calculations you have to do for odd angles.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be good enough to get a real-time 3-dimensional game going at a really good clip. So,
right, especially at a lower resolution. Like a P mode 1 or something. Robert Sieg.
Yep. So I will mention this as a kind of a side note. For our MC10 special, we've been trying to get a hold of Robert for the entire month or so, and neither Jim Gary nor I were getting answers back from him. And for some reason, I think what happened is I think it must have went to spam or something, both of our sets of emails, and he finally found out that we were trying to contact him. He got a hold of me this week. So I've added him to the MC10 special that's coming up on October the 23rd. So he will be another guest, and he sent me, I don't know if you saw that email, Stevie, but a whole list of stuff he wants to talk about. So
okay.
I'm not sure we can fit everything. I think what we might do is tell him to pick a couple things to cover on the MC10 special, and then we'll bring him on for a full-blown interview next year.
That sounds good.
Everything. Anyway, him and Jim Gary collaborated and made a Boulder Dash game for the MC10, which is made available on the MC10 Facebook group, so you can grab that. They even made a little Word document, a one-page set of instructions you can download as well. So,
is there a picture of it here?
No, unfortunately, they didn't put one up.
Okay.
And the manual doesn't either. It just has text explaining the keys and stuff. So
okay,
I don't know what it looks like. If Ken, I know you're going to be active on the MC10 special, and I know we'll have a different game selected for the thing, which I'm not even sure what it's going to be now, because we're waiting for Robert to vote and see if that changes the results again. But if you have time between then and now to maybe download this and give it a try, and maybe just show it on that special just to show what it looks like, because I have no idea.
Yeah, I could look into that.
If Jim Gary puts this in his repo, we can pull it directly into the CoCoPie, because CoCoPie will do a Jim Gary get pull of all his stuff, so we can look for it that way too.
Yeah. I also mentioned, going back to Jay Ciro's doing that Petsky thing. He's the one who did that CoCo 3, was it called? CoCo... I can't remember what it's called now.
He did
that
farming
food
game.
farming thing we showed?
Yeah, the farming thing. Yeah, like Farmville type thing.
Yeah, so I got permission from him to put it on the archive, because I took a look, and it's actually not there.
Okay.
And the latest version he didn't even have on Facebook. Like, he kind of just sent it privately to some certain people. He said, yeah, I kind of forgot to upload it everywhere. So I'll be putting that up on the archive probably this upcoming week.
Cool. Talented guy.
That's it for the game news for now.
All right.
You want to go straight into the regular stuff? Or?
Yeah, let's go straight into the regular stuff while I'm still awake.
Go play some Defender. That'll wake you up.
Yeah, right. And you can have it all. That song's going to be stuck in my head now. My empire of dirt. Why is your browser not up to the... There you go. All right, James
I had the other windows shut, pushed
James Diffendaffer. In honor of September, here is some Mandelbrot code ported from AppleSoft BASIC.
Yeah, this seems to be a common thing this month here, because there's been a few Mandelbrot programs. I even converted a couple to BASIC 9 just to see what the speed difference would be. There was one that was done in a 40-column text mode with 16 colors, very low res, and it was done by a YouTuber that was comparing it between like a Spectrum and a what machines? A Commodore 64 he had in there, and a few others. So he had some Commander 16, I think, was in there too. So he was comparing the speeds in BASIC of drawing these things. And I ported it over to BASIC 9, and I think we beat everybody except for the Commander 16 and the Spectrum Next by a pretty handy margin. And that's running on a stock CoCo, not a modern upgrade like the other two machines that beat it were. So, but yeah, James did one honoring basically the Tandy thing. So he's got the source code here. It's based on the Apple II version, and he's got some pictures of it here.
Wow.
And then he's got the hardware multiply patch. He's patched BASIC, so that floating point multiplication is a lot faster.
Okay.
So that's what he was mainly using it for, was to compare the speeds here. And then he re-updated for the palette, so it looks a bit better. And this is the one I based my BASIC 9 version on. And my BASIC 9 version, I think, did it in about half the time that his did.
Okay.
But still, his was 40% faster than the original standard super extended BASIC. So it shows that if you're doing something with a lot of multiplication, it's a pretty small patch to it. It's like maybe 40 bytes you poke in. And if you're doing a lot of things with multiplication, it speeds up pretty drastically. So for basic programmers, if you need that kind of stuff for table lookups or math or doing 3D rendering or whatever, I would definitely download his little source code here and then just take the patch part, because any CoCo 3 of course boots up in RAM mode, so you can patch basic no problem, and just do those few bytes of pokes, and then your program will speed up too. So thanks to him for sharing that community. He's also going to be on the MC10 special, and he's going to be talking about some of the basic optimizations he's done on the MC10, which includes stuff like this, because that has a hardware multiply instruction too that was never used in Microsoft BASIC. Give me a fun special. We're going to try to see if we can make Stevie's head explode again.
Oh, yeah. Tandy Color Compute S Video Mod. By...
Yeah, this was an interesting one, so I'll play a little bit of it here.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Retro channel. And yes, as we're still in Sep Tandy, we're going to look at some more Tandies. Today we're checking out the Color Computer 2 and also the Dragon 32. These are both hopefully going to get S-Video modifications, especially the CoCo 2, as it only comes with an RF output. So we definitely need something more modern for that. And the Dragon 32 actually does have composite video output, so it's not so much of a priority to get S-Video from a Dragon 32, but we may as well have a look, see what we can do.
Anyway, I'll play the whole video, but he goes through it. And last year for September, he did a composite mod for a CoCo 1. And he was always a bit bugged that it took so many parts to get it to work. So these are greatly simplified. There's much less parts, much less soldering. And they turned out pretty good on the CoCo. He got it so it runs composite or S-Video. You can switch between them. And S-Video looks quite nice. It really cleans up the signal. The Dragon, unfortunately, the S-Video wasn't as much of a difference from the composite. So he questions at the end of the video. He said, yeah, you can do it, but it doesn't, is it worth the effort? Is basically what he's getting at. And he says he's not so sure it is. So he kind of called it a half a mod.
Okay.
But he goes right in the details. He shows you, like where to solder and what he's doing and all the parts listed that you needed for both. And it's a much smaller parts list than you needed last time. I don't think there's a single chip, actually. I think it's all like capacitors and diodes and whatever else. All this hardware stuff that I soldered into my hair by accident. So pretty interesting video. And if you have the monitors these days that have the S-Video support, it's definitely is cleaner than even composite. Okay, this one here is Retro Tech Toys. Is not a channel I've seen before, but he did a Septandy video showing much needed maintenance to his 64K CoCo 2, and there was mainly a dodgy RF connector, because basically when he plugged the RF, the RCA cable into the RF, it actually would wiggle around almost loose. So he's having some issues with it there. So he goes into diagnosing the problem, going into fixing it, and then getting it up and running again. But it was just nice seeing another new YouTuber, new the CoCo that I've never seen before, covering the CoCo as part of Septandy. I really like the Septandy thing. I mean, for last year's the first year we really covered it in earnest, and it's been phenomenal. And this is another Septandy one. Now this one was done by Tom Parlier. I'm not familiar with him, but he actually has a GIME-X, and this is showing all 256 colors on the screen at once in one of the 256 color modes. And then he actually does a little bit of palette animation of it.
Oh wow.
And I'm not sure what res he's picked in this particular case, if it's 320 by 200 by 256, but you can definitely see some of the color possibility with the GIME-X. So as the GIME-X starts getting out in bulk here, as it slowly catches up on all the back orders and wishful orders and stuff there, hopefully it'll start getting enough of a base that'll convince people like Nick to actually, make a game for it if there's enough of a user base of it to make it warrantable. Not at this point, because it's basically only gone out to beta testers and the early order people that got him to install it, because he was kind of like testing on different gimmies and stuff. But once it becomes a fully commercial product, which should be pretty darn quick, assuming chip shortages don't affect him, I'd love to see some cool stuff for it. Now this is a really good one too, and this is not somebody I know either. Are any of you familiar with Scott Baker? Who's SM Baker OIT for his YouTube channel?
No.
He is on the CoCo group, and he did a video showing a whole bunch of upgrades. So he got a 16K extended basic CoCo 2 that he got off eBay, and he decided to upgrade the living crap out of it. So he upgraded 64K, he added a composite video mod, then he built his own multi-pack interface.
Wow.
And 3D printed the case for it on top of it. So he just went like all whole hog here and just massively upgraded. And it's actually quite a good video. He's got a lot of cool stuff in here.
That's the multi-pack there? It's got a dial on it?
I will mention here, this CoCo 2 he got was advertised as new, and I think it is. I mean, the packaging's been opened and stuff, but
yeah, it's still in the plastic.
It's pristine white. It's still got the plastic wrap even around the manuals. And here we go for stupid YouTube ads.
Wow, that's a great mod right there. That's
awesome. Just need that.
You work it, girl.
Just remember, hair products. The hair product ad is here specifically for people like Boat. And, oh, sorry. Just kidding.
Hey, listen.
All right.
Just trying to vamp here to get rid of this stupid commercial.
Yeah, that's.
But you can see how white this is. Like this is pristine. There's no yellowing at all.
Oh hell yeah!
And it's one of the medium in between CoCos because it's got the full travel keyboard, but it's still the old Radio Shack. Logos on it.
Oh yeah. Gorgeous.
Oh.
Did he break his warranty seal?
He's about to.
Yes, he did. The warranty seal was untouched.
Look how
clean even the inside is.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I'm used to people getting eBay ones filled with spider webs.
Yeah, this is like white room clean here. This is really nice.
Yeah. This is like it was pulled from the Tandy warehouse.
Okay. Yeah, look at that. Ooh.
This is going
shiny
to
reflection off the motherboard still. It's got
more ads. But anyway,
all
go
right,
check out the video. It's got a lot of cool stuff in there, and he's actually planning on getting a CoCo VGA. In fact, he'd ordered it already, but then he found out that Brendan is like, everybody else is, months behind trying to get parts, so he can't get, unfortunately, as a CoCo VGA for a few months yet.
Whose iPhone's ringing right now?
That's fine. It's not supposed to be linked up to my computer at the moment, but.
Cheap way to save
next up. CoCoTalk, which we have covered some of his videos before. He was the one who was really impressed with Extended Basic last week because he's actually been doing a bunch of basic stuff on Ataris and Commodore 64s, doing graphics specifically. And of course, the CoCo actually had one of the most powerful basics for doing graphics from the 8-bit era. And it was actually the precursor to the GWiz basic on the IBM PC. That that's where the play command, the draw command was all done on the CoCo first and then ported over. So in this case here, he does a thing on just generally how to load cassette software on retro computers. But because he was so enamored with the CoCo last week, he actually did the CoCo for the whole video as the base unit to show what to do, on how to set up your MP3 players on your phone or whatever else to import the files in, and demonstrates how to adjust volume levels, etc. So it's more of a tutorial video this kind, but I just like the fact that his videos for the past year have all been other platforms, and because he so fell in love with the basic here, I think he actually stuck with the CoCo here for a generic video on any retro system. So I thought that was cool. Also just dropped recently with the latest issue of the CoCo Crew podcast. So things of note on this particular episode are the tech segment covers how to add commands to BASIC, which is actually something that I'm trying to remember the guy's name, Colin Stearman. And Rainbow had a whole series of this because he had Cooking with CoCo was called. And it was basically, he taught you how to add new commands to BASIC, how to link it into BASIC, because Microsoft designed it to be extendable. That's why you can put a color BASIC ROM, you just add an extended BASIC ROM and it immediately adds all those commands. You add a disk BASIC ROM, it immediately adds all the commands. And then other people took advantage of this, like say ADOS or ADOS 3, they added even more commands. But people have added graphics commands. Nick and I have been trying to find, there's a guy in Tasmania that made a pretty enhanced BASIC for gaming sprites and stuff, I think basically is what we found, because we found the manual for it, but we can't find the software. I'd love to see what that runs like. But he covers basically how to do that. So if you're interested in actually extending BASIC with your own commands, that's a kind of a tech segment to teach you how to do that. They've also got a discussion on what to expect from a developer kit. And this is basically how much support you should expect if you're getting an early developer kit. Because some developers will release something planning to make it a product. They just get it out early so people can write software for it. So they tend to be very supportive. They'll help you out if you have problems, send you updates if the firmware needs updating, etc. And I think most of the CoCo community falls under that. Like Ed Snyder's been sending updates for the GIME-X since us beta testers had it 2 years ago. But there's some others, and this is a problem I think that all retro communities hit, where sometimes you get this product, it sounds really cool, you get a first version of it, not quite working right, and then the guy just drops it. And they kind of discuss, the caveats of having that type of a relationship too, and then going into like what level of support should you expect? Like if you're ordering a developer kit, should you expect more than that, or are you taking a risk and just this may never become a real product, and you might have something that only half works or something like that? So that's an interesting discussion. And then Neil's Corner, he reviewed the USB power for the CoCo 2. We covered the USB, I think it's Tim Halloran, who's actually powering the CoCo 3. He showed on Facebook from a USB port. There's no plug into the wall at all. It's totally powered by USB. And this actually is a version that he'd sent Neil earlier that actually powers the CoCo 2. So I didn't even know the CoCo 2 version was out because I guess the voltage might be a little bit different or the power draw is a little bit different. So he kind of reviews that. So that's cool. Anyway, there's a bunch of other stuff in the episode. So go grab it and take a listen. This next one, this is a show starting to rival the length of CoCoTALK here. So this is an audio podcast, and it's a retro computer podcast, generally covering various platforms. But they have a couple segments in here that talk about the Dragon, and it's in Spanish. But the show is 4 hours long. Kind of remind you of anybody. And in this bigger case, they talk about the Dragon in general, and unfortunately, they don't have the closed captioning option on this one, so I can't translate it. So I'm just kind of going by translating the show notes at the bottom. But they do a review of Backtrack for the Dragon, which we've shown on the show before too, which is that kind of top 3D view where you're trying to escape the maze and avoid snakes and stuff like that on the Dragon. Really, really cool looking game for the Dragon or the CoCo 1-2 level machines. So anyway, if you speak Spanish or if you know somebody's in Spanish and into CoCos, this would be an excellent podcast to listen to. This one caused a bit of controversy. So this is Noel's Retro Computer Lab. And for those of you on the CoCo group in Facebook and the Dragon group in Facebook, he posted links to this. So he's trying to figure out, is the Dragon a clone of the CoCo? I mean, obviously it's got some improvements, like it has a real parallel port and it had a better quality keyboard than even the CoCo 3 has, which I have to agree with. But he's saying like the fact that the cartridge port is pin compatible with the CoCos and didn't have to be. I mean, you could have just changed signals around. The joystick ports are completely compatible, etc. He's going, this is pretty well a clone. He figures they changed the tokens in BASIC and changed the keyboard wiring just enough so the lawyers wouldn't come after them from Tandy. So I wanted to kind of ask here because I'm not sure. I think that is partly true. I do know they did some optimizations. They both had the same Microsoft BASIC, from Microsoft. That was Microsoft control, not theirs, though they did tweak it. What is your guys' opinion on was the Dragon designed as a clone of the CoCo, or was it designed off the reference design from Motorola and just happened to have? Well, as much as we want here. Stevie's on the phone, so you can't tell us to stop. So go ahead. So what is your opinion, Marco, on that?
My opinion, I think they built it from the reference design, but they also realized, the CoCo 1 and 2 was available in England at the time, in UK. So they probably figured that they're piggybacking on, existing knowledge and hardware and software. I mean, that's what Franklin did. Yeah.
Doesn't which one came first kind of fix that?
CoCo 1 came out in 1980, the Dragon 32 came out in 1982.
Done. That's it.
It's like Franklin did the same thing with the Apple II, and they got sued for it. Whereas Dragon Data made it different enough that you could say it wasn't quite the same, but it really was. That's my opinion.
Yeah, like Tim Gilbert's in the chat. He's saying it's not a clone. Like he's emphatic about it, repeated it 4 times.
Yeah, sorry guys, I had a phone call. I was on mute for a little bit. But are we asking, is the Dragon a clone of the CoCo?
Yeah, that's what his discussion here. Now, yeah. Noel comes up. He thinks it is. He thinks it was specifically designed to be a clone. And just different enough the lawyers wouldn't come after it.
I would say no. This is my opinion. I mean, it's based on the Motorola reference model, and that blueprint was already made out to the public. It happens to use that. There are enough things different about it where it's not different. I will say, and I think this was mentioned on the Dragon Talk special when we talked to, who was the guy who worked for Dragon Data, who did the BIOS and everything too? I can't remember his name.
Duncan Smead?
Yeah. So Duncan, he went out to Microsoft, right? So he met with Microsoft, and I think Microsoft steered them towards a few design changes to make it compatible with code that was already written. So it was more of a, for simplicity, plug and play reasons, they made a few choices because Microsoft already written the code to talk to like the the bus and all that kind of stuff
for the keyboard and stuff.
Yeah.
So they did change but
it happened on its own. It wasn't inspired by. They certainly weren't trying to capture the U.S. market on computers. There were enough UK computers out there. They didn't need to do that. It was just a complete coincidence, in my opinion. But anyways, I don't know. This based on
I'll mention like some of the things that Noel mentioned. The standard Motorola reference design that covers the CPU, the VDG, the SAM. So obviously they're both basing it on Motorola. His specific points that he thought proved that it was a clone was the cartridge connector is exactly the same pinout. Every single one of the 40 pins is exactly the same pin in the same spot. There's no reason to do that other than to make it compatible. Two, he pointed out that the keyboard is laid out exactly the same. They didn't move a single key. And then back then, I mean, keyboards were quite different between different machines as far as the way they placed things.
Okay, so, he's starting to lean me. Starting to lean. I'm starting to lean here. Okay,
the joysticks.
Joystick ports.
Were these design elements part of the reference design?
No.
The reference design didn't have joystick ports, right? Or serial ports like the Bitbanger and stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, the serial port is different because the Dragon, actually, I guess the Dragon 32 had the parallel port. Like it had a real parallel port for the printer, which is something I wish the CoCo had because it takes way less CPU time. It's way faster.
Right.
And then the Dragon 64, of course, upgraded and actually added a real 6551 like the deluxe CoCo was supposed to have, but we never saw that.
Or
it was an external.
Or the RS-232 back.
Right.
Yeah, so it was an external card.
Tim is following up by saying Duncan wrote the key scanning and it was different. The same layout is strange, but the matrix is different. Maybe someone who helped them do it knew the CoCo keys. I don't know. Yeah, to use the word clone, I think the question when you put the word clone in quotes is what was the intent behind this? Because when you look at the Brazilian clones, I mean that was 100% shade, right? Yeah. They're like, screw copyright laws. We're going to make whatever the hell we want.
And the case was the same.
You know what I mean?
So
there was no shady intent here. This was a legit system that was being made as a UK or Wales, European product. It wasn't meant to cash in on another market. I don't feel that was ever part of the mentality behind this. I think it's,
Yeah, my personal feeling is that it wasn't meant to be a clone. It was definitely based on the same reference designs. I think when they found out that the CoCo was also based on the same reference design, they said, basically the same thing. Like we can set it up so that it's more compatible than it would have been if we just completely clean roomed it. So they tried to make like if you want to make a game running on keyboard, moving all the keys around would mean you'd have to reprogram the game, right? Like if the arrows were in the diamond shape of the CoCo 3, for example, some keyboard games are impossible to play. So I think following that would have made sense as a kind of a freebie to get some extra compatibility. Now, you did have to patch some games still, but not as much. And joystick-based games, you basically didn't have to patch at all. They just ran, the equivalent the same way. The keyboard is better quality on the Dragon and has been since the Dragon 32. I mean, it's basically like the Mark Data Products keyboard. And as somebody pointed out in the chat, I think it might have been Tim. There was lots of third-party keyboards that were better than the Tandy ones, even back in 82, 83. So
the extended BASIC, enhanced BASIC, is actually tokenized differently. But all you have to do is just save the BASIC program as ASCII and then reload it.
Right, because Microsoft already had the source code. So in order to make the source code the most compatible, it's like, why reinvent any wheels?
Yeah, the thing was under Microsoft's control, not Tandy or Dragons. Not completely, but the one place where they did definitely have a huge break between the two of them, where they're not compatible with each other in the slightest, is the disk. The disk system.
The disk BASIC and the disk format and everything else, right?
Yeah, Dragon DOS is based on sectors, not granules. It handles 40 and 80 track disks natively. Like it has a whole whackload of things that's not supported by the CoCo until you get to OS 9.
The directory is a totally different track, but it's not a clone. But I mean, it's close enough that if you're programming from one, you can easily program for the other with just minor things.
Power supply too.
Yeah. Well, regardless, I mean, it's a great question. I'm not sure what the intended result of the video was. If we're trying to get people to polarize a decision, or is it a thought experiment? At this point, does it matter because neither company exists? But
I think it was just an interesting topic because I mean, Noel's kind of new to both of them. In the last year or so. So for him, he's finally got the two side by side. And he's going, this is really a lot the same.
Right.
You can, he was testing can I load a game from one on the other? Take the Dragon cartridge, stick it in the CoCo type thing, and he discovered some work, some don't. So, I'm kind of on your side, Steve, where it's not quite a clone, but I think they did go out of their way in a couple specific spots to try to make it as compatible as possible, to encourage hardware and software developers to make for both.
Well, when you make a clone of something, like to me, if you want to make the word clone a dirty word, like is this a clone, like in a vindictive way, I would look at what was the intent, right? So when you look at a PC clone, 100% of the intent of PC clones was to cash in on the market. If I can make a machine that's compatible with the software people are running, people are going to buy my machine. So there was a specific deliberate intent to make something to profit from. I don't think the clone aspect of this was meant to capitalize and profit from the huge, I'm using an all due sarcasm, huge CoCo software market that lived in the European region. You know what I mean? I don't think that that was part of the intent of it. My opinion, I don't know. I wasn't there, So
yeah. And the thing is that the CoCo 1 and 2, or the CoCo 2 specifically, was sold at Tandy stores in the UK, but those weren't common stores. A lot of people we've talked in the UK said they never saw CoCo in the wild.
Right, it wasn't a popular machine, so it wasn't like, if you were going to clone anything, clone a BBC Micro, an Acorn Atom, or a Spectrum, or Sinclair, whatever, clone something that... And also, what's the motivation to making a clone? If it's like, why would I buy Fred's computer when I've already got Commodore? So it has to do everything, but it has to be cheaper, right? So the reason why clones exist was, Big Blue wants X number of dollars for a real IBM PC, but Compaq or whatever can come in and sell us a cheaper version of a good enough equivalent. Clones need to do everything and have a compelling reason to buy. I don't think there was any cost benefit to buying a Dragon versus a CoCo, so...
When Mark Siegel comes on the show, you can always ask him why Tandy didn't pursue legal action against Dragon.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting question because, most stuff outside of the States was controlled by Intertan, which is kind of like a sister corp. It wasn't directly under the control of Fort Worth, so he might not have had any say in that whatsoever, even if he did have strong thoughts on it. But yeah, no, Tandy UK never went after Dragon. As far as I know, there was never even a thought of a lawsuit.
Yeah, Matt in the live chat's pointing out that clone isn't necessarily derogatory either. So maybe the questioning here isn't putting a slant on the word
compatible.
Clone. Yeah, but it's a good question to ask, especially if you're new to the system and you weren't sure. But I think there's enough information out there to say that this is just
I like the idea of terming it a compatible, mostly compatible. Rather than a clone, because it's got enough unique features to it that I think
that's the thing too. Back in the days of the PC, there were IBM clones and IBM compatibles, or MS-DOS compatible systems, where it would run the operating system, but it might
Tandy
not
2000 series.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
That's right.
So that word was clone and compatible was used in the early PC market. When IBM was still a player.
Wonder which computer might have used the 6309 first.
CoCo, I'm pretty sure.
The CoCo, yeah.
They were Kevin Darling and a few of them actually had them years before they knew about the special features. They just bought it because it was cheap and would handle overclocking better.
Yeah, cool.
Anyway, there's been discussion on the Dragon group on Facebook, the CoCo group on Facebook, which had links to this video, and on the actual YouTube comments. So if you guys want to continue the discussion with some of the other people,
right? And this video's gotten like 9,000 views. So the fact that people are watching this and even thinking about this and having this conversation, it's good for both of our communities at this point. To be honest with you, it's shedding some light on that these machines are out there. So yeah, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right? So
yeah. It even goes through the CoCo SDC, having the one switch to switch between Dragon mode.
Do the Dragon folk ever ask the question, when is a dragon no longer a dragon? I've never heard
when
that
are they
question.
Distorting the hobby?
Are we distorting our dragons at this point? No. Okay. So cool.
Anyway, really good discussion topic, I thought.
Ooh.
So this is the next graphical demo project for sped up BASIC that James Diffendafer was doing. Now he was going to try to be on the show today, but he got called away in work. So basically, this is a ray tracing program written in BASIC, and it's based on a ray tracing program originally done for the C64. Now the C64 version, I think, took what the heck was it, like 30 hours to run or something like that.
Wow.
Some insane amount of time.
Was that loading from disk?
Yeah, that was the loading part. Yeah. So it took 30 hours to render. It's a 2-color mode, just because the calculations are a lot easier for doing reflections, etc. With his patch, super extended BASIC, it took 13 hours, so less than half.
This is just 2-color bitmap.
Yeah. So this is another one. He's going to release his source code and stuff for it here later. I'm going to see if I can convert this to BASIC 9 because I'm kind of curious how long it'll take to run on that. There's a lot more floating point math in here than integer math, so I probably won't speed it up that much, but we'll see.
Assume that's in BASIC.
Yes. And to give me the screenshot, you can see overclocked. It's 202 megahertz, so it wouldn't take the full 13 hours to get ready.
Pooyan.
Mr. Ken Waters, I think I'll let you talk about this one. So this is it's not just Coco related stuff, but there definitely was some Coco things that you received, and I think most of it or all of it was from Mr. Dave.
Yep, it was another package from Mr. Dave, and if you saw the video that I did from his previous stuff he sent me, the Pooyan cartridge did not work on my CoCo 3 because it was booting up in the wrong section of the chip. And so he sent me a replacement with the fix for that. And yeah, so just had to switch.
And you got a 3D printing case, or did you have that already with the Pooyan?
Oh, he sent that to me. That's a Mr. Dave special. So yeah, he just added the yellow capacitor that you can see above the 555 chip there.
Right.
So that just caused it to work properly on my CoCo S or on my CoCo 3. So
nice.
And we have a comment from Dave in the chat says, "Wow, what a sexy cart."
Yeah.
So is this CoCo 3 version the enhanced color Pooyan?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
If you scrub for it a little bit, you'll see the proper color.
I'm scared too because YouTube's going to fly ads in the air, I think.
I don't know if it will on my videos.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Now you received some other stuff. I mean, some of it was like ColecoVision.
Hey, you got a haircut. Look at that. Look at you all clean, groomed back there. Look, slick back Jack looking at you.
Come on. I filmed that one a little while ago, but my hair hasn't grown that long.
All right.
He ain't no Nick Marentes now.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Marotta now.
Nick Marotta.
So what other Coco goodies did he send you, and what do they do?
He also sent me the case for the that's the case for the joystick converter, for a digital joystick converter that I built in the previous episode. And he sent me a few boards of some different joysticks. So there's
joystick adapters, you mean, or?
He sent me just some boards to build some different CoCo joysticks on.
Oh, actual controllers.
Yeah. So here, you just passed it. So those boards there. That red one is kind of like an NES style joystick.
Oh wow, that looks really cool. You see the
the middle one there. That's another the joystick converter cartridge for an MSX computer. The black one at the bottom is the split joystick.
It's CoCo Joy. Look at that.
So that's a split joystick with 2 controllers on it. That's a ColecoVision cartridge.
Huh.
You got a lot of goodies there.
Yep.
Mr. Dave's a machine.
He is putting out some interesting stuff.
Mr. Dave CoCo split joystick. Oh, look at that.
So yeah, it's got 2 direction controllers on it. So I think that could be.
So there'll be one controller plugged into both ports.
I haven't actually. No, it's
this splits the X and the Y, right? So
it splits the X and the Y. But
okay.
I don't think it would be that hard to convert that to be able to have 2 directional, so something to work on.
Like a Robotron.
Robotron.
Yeah.
Mr. Dave, if you're listening.
Yeah, he's been pretty busy because he's also working on some like high-res games. He's been learning assembly language programming on the CoCo and actually gotten quite far. We've shown his little, ships flying over the flashing nebula and stuff there. Yeah. That's really good too. So he's tackling the hardware and the software there. I feel
Dave is a busy man of many talents.
Yep. I, on the other hand, have none.
Making the show run 9 hours would be one of them, I'd say.
I know that's a talent or a curse, though. That's what I usually hear from people.
Tandy
they get cursed for it.
Here we go.
Yeah, so they did a day zero stream yesterday, which he posted about, but then it got yanked due to copyright issues from Warner Brothers for music. So I'm assuming because Brian Schubring did make Tandy Assembly this weekend. And of course, he usually has his MIDI stuff cranked.
Well, he's there. Brian's there now. I saw his post this morning.
Yeah, but I think he probably had his MIDI stuff cranked up with commercial songs, and that's probably what triggered that. So the whole video got yanked. So all I've got for now is just some of the photos from here.
So day zero was the Friday. Is that a color monitor?
And they were live streaming when I came on the air today. So they were just live streaming. They had one presentation this morning on Xenix and the Tandy 6000, I think it was. And then they were just doing live streaming from the show floor itself. So it's, of course, going on even as we speak.
Curtis, answer our question.
What was the question? He's saying, is that a color monitor? It's hard to say. I think it's just glare on there.
No, that's just glare. That's a
Hit the
standard
reply.
Tandy. Pardon?
There's a reply to the same question.
Yeah, no, that's just
under James Ross's question. It says there's a reply. Click on that. It looks color to me. Too much work to actually convert that monitor to color. So it must be some sort of trick of the light. Okay.
Yeah, it's trick of the light.
It's a glare.
You can see it's an actual
Yeah,
Tier
'cause
City
the-
monitor, which was only sold black and white. So
Okay, cool. Tandy Assembly is taking place this weekend. There's John Linville. I don't know what he's talking
doing
about.
a seminar in the 6809, it looks like.
Okay. There he is.
Showing the entryway to the place.
Nobody's wearing a mask. Oh, there's somebody wearing a mask over there.
There's a few.
Okay. And day 0 was Friday, so this is before the big weekend. This was like the all right. So, cool.
And then you guys will be hopefully live streaming some stuff at CoCoFest here in the beginning of November too. So, especially for us Canucks that can't make it down.
Is that still? You think that's still going to be that way in November?
It's going to be shut down till at least October 21st. Then they're going to review it. So
okay, so we might get a Hail Mary. Who knows?
We'll have to see.
Okay, Tandy Assembly.
Yeah, live right now. So after the show, if you want to catch up on that, you can catch up their live stream there, and you can usually rewind on YouTube because they're going to be broadcasting the seminars as they go too, so you can actually go back and see them, covering all kinds of Tandy computers. This next one here is another Spanish one from Paraguay called Retrocomputing Paraguay. And it's a 14-minute video in Spanish showing a CoCo 3 with 128K, a CoCo SDC, and he's got a pistol grip joystick, one of the Tandy
Interesting, yeah.
And he offers, this one does offer closed captioning, so you can actually get translations of what he's saying, roughly. It's not perfect, but he demonstrates the SDC Explorer. He demonstrates a couple of games, including CoCo 1 and 2 games like Canyon Climber, CoCo 3 games like Arkanoid. Now he's only got Composite. And then he actually demonstrates the Ledger program, which is kind of the spreadsheet program in DeskMate 3, which I know will interest Ron because he's been bugging me to get DeskMate 3 working under EOU. So just kind of interesting to see somebody, from not from North America talking about something.
I don't think that CoCo had a big market in
our part of the world. RIP means rest in peace.
Oh, you mean up on the right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just the initials of the show, I believe. Yeah, Retroinformatica Paraguay. That's what that stands for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So it's actually a pretty interesting video. I hadn't really played around with the DeskMate Ledger before, and it actually looks like a pretty decent, low end.
Right. Yeah, because for us, rest in peace, RIP means rest in peace. So yeah, I could see how different regions would interpret that differently. Yep.
Yeah, because it almost looks like if you're thinking that way, they're RIP to joysticks or something there.
Yeah. Maybe not the best acronym to pick, but Ron's computer videos.
So I didn't know Roundtable had yet another channel, and his beard shrunk a little bit, but no, this is a totally different Ron. So on the very last day of Septandy, because he'd been planning on doing a Septandy video, he finally got one out, and he showed a little bit of VCF Midwest, including Jason's table briefly, you can see. Cool. And then he talks about, he was trying to find out more about emulators, and he went digging through the weeds, and he had to go into the Internet Archive to pull up old websites that are long gone. And he actually brought up an old virtual CoCo emulator for the CoCo 1 and 2 that actually ran on the original Power Macs, like when the first Power PC transition happened. And I remember having this one at work because we fiddled with it a little bit. It was written by Phil Stroffolino. There was some help from some of the people that are involved in the CoCo side of the MAME team back in the day. Like this is back in the 90s. So he actually got it up and running and shows you where to go find the original ROMs and how to get a download from the archive because there's actually an archive copy of the website itself is long, long gone. So if you want to do double retro, you can get an old Power Mac, like a 6100 base system or something like that. Then you can get this old emulator and run the CoCo 1 and 2 on it. And he also goes in, like back then it was running their Mac OS 8. And you had to have the creator labels to match, otherwise it wouldn't launch the program. So the disk images, you have to go in with the editor of the header part of the metadata for the actual bin file, like you're running Zaxxon or something. You have to actually set it to recognized by the emulator. Otherwise it doesn't even show up in the dialog to load it. So it gives you some of the tech details and some of the stuff we don't have to worry about anymore, but was a pain in the ass back then. So it's actually a pretty good one. And here's, I'll just show this here because that's actually the corner of Jason's table.
Yes, sir.
You see up there. So anyway, it's a pretty interesting video. It's definitely, if you're a retro enthusiast, it's got double retro all the way.
That's right. Running a vintage machine that's emulating an even more vintage machine on it.
Exactly.
Right? It's like Sheldon MacDonald's BASIC interpreter written in BASIC. Right? So.
Yes.
Okay.
Or like running the CPM emulator on the Nitrous 9 on an emulator.
Okay. Kickman demo for the TRS-80 color computer. Kickman? Really? Why do we have to kick a man? What did he do?
Now, Stevie, have you ever played Kickman on the Atari 2600?
No,
That's the you said it's based on.
The name does not ring a bell. Maybe if I see
Kickman
a picture
is
of
great.
it. Show me a picture of it.
So this is not the game, just to be upfront about it. This here is a new channel. It's called Color Computer Programming, which I've never heard of before. So it's a short 1-minute video, and basically it's a graphical demo of the old Atari 2600 game using P-Mode 3 graphics programmed in BASIC on the CoCo. And he's obviously discovered the get-put trick of using even byte buffers, so it runs way, way faster than the G version that Tandy taught you in the Tandy taught you in the manuals. So it actually plays pretty decent. Now, it doesn't do too much at this point here, except for a little bit of graphics and sound. But
oh, crap. No, I am not familiar with that. So you're like balancing stuff on your head?
John, I'll let you explain, 'cause I have no idea.
This is a game where it's sort of like an Arkanoid type thing. What we're seeing right now is the main character. That's weird. But
well, he's experimenting, so
yeah. But this is basically it's showing off the main character moving around, and I'm not exactly sure what the significance of the balloons. This is a game where you pop balloons with your head, though.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's a very cool looking character. He's got looks like an Intellivision Running Man, a little bit of a Pitfall.
Yeah, I believe in the original version, this is a clown on a unicycle.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. So like you mentioned in the comments, it's basically just a little demo of some graphics he's fiddling to figure out what you can do in BASIC on the CoCo 1 and 2.
Okay. Yeah.
So whether he's planning makes a full game, or if this was just a game he happened to like, and that's what he picked as a base for his little learning venture here.
Buck Owens just chimed in, says you catch balloons dropping down from the top. Okay. Not familiar.
And actually, Ken Reichert mentions it's Flippy, and that's a game that actually is similar, except in that one you're a seal catching balloons in your nose, and that was from a T&D. And was that program? No, I don't think it's programmed by Terry Steege, but yeah, that's a game that actually does remind me, because you do catch balloons on your nose. You have to not let them hit the ground. Is that similar to the game on the Atari, John?
Yeah. It's very similar. I don't know if I've ever played the 2600 version, but the arcade version, that's what you do.
Oh, it's an arcade game too. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Probably similar to Activision's Kaboom as well. This is basically something dropping down.
No, it's a little bit different than that, because you stack them.
Yeah, you're stacking things, but it is similar in that you're catching things as they drop down from the top.
But it gets harder because as your balloons get stacked higher, you have to catch it on the top of the balloon. And in fact, you can bounce the balloon off the side wall, and Flippy anyway, I don't know about the arcade game, but you can bounce it off the wall. Like if it's fall too low, you can ram into it and bump it up so it bounces back up and then try to catch it again. But you get a shorter and shorter time to be able to catch it, because if it goes past down the side and your balloon's already stacked high, you can't put it on top. So it's an interesting game. Actually, that's one we'll have to think about, Ken, about putting into the rotation at some point. I'll let you pick when, because I totally forgotten about that game until this came up. So
okay,
it's actually kind of a fun one.
Oh, Buck Owen says you can kick the balloon back up too. So if it goes down low, you can kick it up in the air.
And that's what you can do in Flippy too.
Okay.
Your seal goes and whacks it up, and then you have to try to catch it again. Of course, this was the end of Septandy this week, because September ended. But Allen Huffman had a whole bunch of other ones in the queue, and those have all been released now. So he's got, I don't know, 30 videos or something. He's got one for just about every day of the week, or day of the month, I should say. And it covers a wide variety of topics. A bunch of basic techniques. There's graphics techniques, assembly language, music, all kinds of stuff. It's just a plethora of things to check out. So I haven't actually had a chance to listen to them all. I've listened to a few in specific just to kind of get a gist of them. But a lot of interesting stuff in there. A lot of his basic optimization techniques are in here that he's blogged about over the past few years, and a ton of other things too. So if you're into basic programming, this month has been awesome.
You're going to close the wrong tab, Curtis. Be careful.
What's that?
It looks like you're getting ready to close that 6809 tab instead. So.
Oh no, I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't closing. You were just highlighting. Okay. Cool. Good job, Alan. Thank you. All right.
So this is Keith, otherwise known as ChibiAkumas. And he's been doing cross-platform assembly language tutorials from everything from Sega Genesis down to Dragon and Coco to C64 to Nintendos to ARM chips to Intel chips and everything else. And he's gotten back to the Dragon and the Coco 1 and 2 here in this case. And now he's done a Hello World program he's done for all these different CPUs and different platforms. So he shows you how to use the video, how to program the CPU in that particular type, etc. So he's revisiting the Hello World now for the second time for the Dragon and the Coco, except this time instead of just doing the hardware text screen, the VDG screen, he's actually doing graphics. And he actually has a utility on his site that's a free download or free usage, as is all source code for all this kind of stuff here. So he's actually showing you how to do fonts and how to do the graphics screen, and he's got some samples there, which is really cool because his tutorials have actually been quite good, and I've actually chatted with him a few times in the chat, talking about some of the other stuff in the Coco. Now, he actually did a couple of announcements during this one, too, near the end of the video that I thought I'd mention here, too. So he's got a book published, and he shows at the end of the video, but it's basically a cross-platform assembly language book. And it covers the 6502, the Z80, the 68000, and a few other chips. Doesn't include the 609 at that point. And also how the different graphics chips on, like the C64 versus the Atari versus whatever else. But he said that book is sold well enough now. He's going to be doing a second one where he's going to be adding in some of the other systems and the other CPUs, and the 6809 and the Coco Dragon is going to be one of those. So look forward to an actual cross-assembly book. And it also teaches you how to translate between the CPUs. So if you want to convert games or transcode, if you're interested in doing the Glen Hewlett type of thing, that might be a good start for you when you get that book out. So that was announcement number one. Announcement number two, because he actually writes games on a lot of these systems too, and he's taking games where he's made a base game on one of the platforms and he converts it to the other platforms, kind of teaches you the techniques on all of these video blogs he does. But then he actually releases the games out with source code. And he's announced that he's actually got his first game for the Dragon and Coco will be coming out soon, and it's a machine language game based on Duck Hunt.
Oh, neat.
So that should be an interesting one to see as well.
That's one we haven't seen on those platforms. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's going to be using joystick. I know he's going to be using the Dicom gun adapter.
Right.
Or anything, but
I can see that working well in a P Mode 3 screen where you have like the blue sky and the green tree leaves and red tree trunks or something, and just yellow dogs and ducks. I think that would work with those four colors.
So for something like that, you have to use a CRT, right?
Well, if you're using a gun,
using a joystick to,
I just using a joystick.
Use a joystick to kind of point, like move a little cursor around on the screen, a little pointer or something, a crosshair or something.
So he doesn't have any preview of that. He just kind of shows the tech stuff here because he's just showing you how to do a graphical font on the Dragon to the Coco. But I'm looking forward to seeing that, and he actually will have the source code and everything else. It's a free download from his GitHub. So once that gets released, I'll definitely bring it back up in the show. We'll have a new game to try.
Maybe we can make that the game of the week. 1 week when it's released.
Yeah, Ken, we don't actually have to, well, actually, I should say you. I'm not actually, officially part of that, but it's almost like everything's getting scheduled for you at this point. There's so many new releases happening now.
What we do is we'll when it's released, we'll make that the game of the week. We'll see if we can't get him to come on as the guest the following week to talk about it, and boom, we got a double.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to have him on. Actually, interesting discussion. Yeah. Especially considering he's transcoded between so many CPUs.
Yeah.
From 32-bit on down, like ARM chips, modern ARM chips, all the way down. Like he's done stuff for the Xbox and all kinds of stuff. So he's well versed on the wide variety of platforms from the ancient 8-bit era all the way up to modern times, and knows all the differences and tips and tricks.
Neat.
Next up here.
MC10.
So Juan Castro posted this link here too, and this is redrawn schematics of the MC10. And it was published by a listener of Retrocomputeria, a podcast in Brazil on retrocomputing. So that's the second South American one we covered this show alone. I didn't realize there were so many podcast retrocomputers in South America, to be honest. Now, I won't show it here on the GitHub. You can go there to get it and download it if you want. And it's a cleaned up schematic of the MC10. But for some reason, when I try to load in GitHub, it just crawls. Like you watch it draw for like 10 minutes type thing. So I just preloaded it here. And this is not zoomed in fully.
Boom.
But if you have to do repairs or you want to figure out where to, jack in a circuit you want to do in an MC10, well, there you go.
2021 redrawn MC10 schematica. Wow, look at that. Dude, that looks good.
Yep. And that is the end of the news.
Oh, what a shame. Man.
It's never long enough, Curtis. I love it.
Oh, don't challenge me on that, Bo. I'll take you up on that.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Terry put a reminder up that get yourself to Tandy list and make yourself known in the Glenside elections.
Okay. Yes. Voting.
When's the deadline for that? Actually, that's something I should have put in the news. I totally forgot.
Isn't that by the next meeting
in October?
Thursday?
Yeah. So this month we got a couple of weeks.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down right now because otherwise I'll forget. Because I gotta vote.
Oh, somebody just pointed out that the news has not even started yet because the banner still says "Game On." So here we go. Now it says news. Thank you for pointing that out.
Do you want me to redo that again?
Yeah, let's just take it from the top this time.
One more time from the top.
Yeah. But something that did come up on Facebook. Number one, you did not mention the Ed Snyder's mentioning of the new CoCo 3 thing, but that's fine. We can talk about that next.
When did he announce that? Because I didn't include any of this.
I saw it on
busy.
Facebook today on my phone as I was. Hey, Maiden, how are you? Maiden Ariana is here. Good to see you again. I saw it on Facebook this morning. I don't know if it was posted this morning. I was just kind of flipping through on my phone. But he basically mentioned that once the GIME-X is being sold, the next project is to work on the next generation CoCo 3 motherboard, which will include a 60309 running at possibly up to 5 megahertz, a 68,000 24-bit DAC, and this and that and the other. It's just like, CoCo insane. Let me just say that this might be distorting the hobby just a little bit. But it seems like it's going to be a badass motherboard. I don't know if it's going to be compatible to fit in the case or if it's going to be a whole new thing, but yeah. So that's something that Ed mentioned. One of the things that also happened on Facebook, I think this week, and since Terry Steege is here, and I'm not sure if Brian Wieseler, he's still here, he's there. You guys were mentioning that one or more of you had found the Steve Bjork Audio Spectrum Analyzer cartridge that was using the graphics mode. Because we had found somebody.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show last week.
Oh, did you talk about that last week?
Yeah.
That's what I get for missing the show. Okay, so that was already talked about. Well, listen, we got plenty of time, Curtis. Talk about it again and stretch it out. Just stretch. So
now for hour 4.
Yeah,
but yeah. There's been at least 3 found in the wild now. Brian has 3 Audio Spectrum Analyzer cartridges. One of them is the new version.
Okay.
2 other people have mentioned that it's the new version. So.
And then somebody had questioned, has that ROM been dumped and is it on an archive anywhere? So I don't know I don't know the answer to that question yet. Has anybody?
I think I can safely say it's being worked on.
It's being worked on. It's in progress. Okay. So that would be interesting to see. Now, I still like the 9-color SG24-1 because that's the original and it's the most colorful, but it's cool to have that variant out there, especially in real hardware.
I think because nobody's heard from Steve. Like we've all pestered him with questions on Discord. We pestered him with questions on Facebook. We haven't heard anything from him, so I hope he's doing well.
Yeah.
But since Mark Siegel is going to be our guest on October the 30th, and Mark Siegel was kind of in charge of getting software and stuff for the CoCo during that time period of when that was released or at least copyrighted in '83. I'm going to see if he remembers anything about it. Maybe we can get the behind story as to that was done. Because that was done years before the Deluxe
it was
or the CoCo 3.
Before the CoCo 3 even, so why do it? Why make why make a less colorful version when it wasn't for compatibility reasons? I don't know.
Yeah, because the Deluxe CoCo did not require it ran semi-graphics just fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So that it wouldn't be needed until at least the CoCo 3.
But you could tell by the title screen that it's got kind of like the SRB software type title screen like you had on
and his fonts and everything.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's cool. I'm glad it does exist, but you really want to wonder. You have to question why. You could see why, like in the CoCo 3 days, that didn't support semi-graphics. Maybe we need to make one for that. But
this was done 3 years before that.
Yeah, really interesting.
That's a big mystery.
Right.
So this higher resolution version is using graphics mode or some higher
graphics mode, P mode 4 artifact colors.
It's kind of like a P mode 3 resolution running in P mode 4 artifacts. It's got the red, white, and blue screen. Yeah. So
except for the kaleidoscope. The kaleidoscope's still the old semi-graphics.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. There it is. So Brian Wieseler's got it pulled up right now.
Here, you're sharing it already?
I'll spotlight his video for everyone. Okay, so here Brian Wieseler has it up, Audio Spectrum Analyzer, and here's the cartridge, right? So it's just got an interesting little color pattern there by Steve Bjork. It still says Datasoft. Okay, so that was still a Datasoft screen.
83.
And it says 83.
Yeah, where the other one was 81, I think, right?
And for those who weren't on last week or haven't watched last week's show, we will mention that the cartridge and the manual have nothing about 1983. Everything still says 1981.
So it still has the old label. So it's just a completely random shot in the dark that you might have that.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
I got a funny story about these things. I've got 4 Spectrum analyzers. 2 of them were the first 2 I did. They actually are this colored version.
The other two I have were the
By the way,
non-colors.
the colored is a derogatory term at this point.
Okay. Anyway, they matter. So what I did was I was cleaning the contacts. I thought my ones that were actually bad. So I'm trying to clean the contacts and all that. So I do have a spare if somebody wants to take it apart and
dump it.
Rip it. Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
What it sounds like somebody's already working on that. But no, that's cool. That is cool. It's interesting that something like that exists. You have to wonder why. What was the motivation to rewrite it in a graphics mode?
If it had been released in 85, 86 when they knew the CoCo 3 was happening, then that makes sense.
Right.
But 83 is way too early. I mean, that was just when the CoCo 2 was just getting announced. So, and that had no differences hardware-wise at all.
Be interesting to look at the PCB board in the cartridge and see if it has a date. Maybe the date is later.
I don't know if they dated the PCB.
Well, the ROM would obviously be made later because it was burned with something written in 83, not 81.
And Steve Bjork has never talked about this or brought this version up?
I don't remember hearing him mention it before. So maybe he's done so many things, I wouldn't be surprised if you forgot one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. All right, so we've done news. I know it's a little bit later now, but did anybody think of any updates or acquisitions that
especially for those that have joined the panel since
a little bit later since then? Anyone?
Go, Brian.
I'm in the process of acquiring an iPhone 13.
Oh,
Pro.
Wow.
13 Pro.
Okay.
It's gonna take a month to get here though.
If you guys want to take a few minutes, I just received my box with the Sprite board. I could do a little quick unboxing.
Yeah, sure.
Unboxing.
Okay. Yeah. I'll also say that I have purchased my round trip ticket to go to CoCoFest in November this year, so I am planning on attending. Unfortunately, I can't afford the time to drive because I wanted to be able to bring things with me and I wanted to be able to buy things to bring home. I can't do that, but I am booked for CoCoFest, so I'm definitely going to be there this year. Looking forward to that. Go ahead, Brian. The suspense is killing us.
Sure it is.
Fresh from the UK?
Fresh from the UK. I haven't even cut the
And you
tape
ordered the
on
kit version too, didn't you, Brian? Because that's all you had left?
That's all he had available. Yeah, was the kit version there. So I'm actually cutting the tape right now here real quick. Let me get into the box.
I guess that's better than cutting the cheese, right? So
cutting the cheese, right?
And I see you got Defender running in the background too,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yep. So yeah, he only had the kit versions available, but I think he's now doing a second run for assembled ones because he had put a comment out on his Facebook page for anybody that was interested in the kit versions.
Yeah, what he said last
assembled.
week is he had 18 pre-assembled that he'd sold out, and then he had 2 kits left, and you grabbed one of those.
Yep. So, he has the. These are available on the download, but this is the assembly instructions.
Oh, nice.
So let's see what we got in here. A whole lot of bubble wrap.
Is Sloopy still on the call? Because I think Sloopy mentioned he wanted to announce something.
Yeah, I'm
Oh my
here.
goodness.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I just
so nice
sent
little
a message.
nice little package of components here.
Parts. And you got a nice little silicon mat to put on here to put this together now too, huh?
There we go. So here's the board itself. The super.
Yeah, it is a
there.
longer card. Yeah, it's almost like the original hard drive controller length of the CoCo
Yes,
hard
it
drive.
is.
Yeah, or the Eliminator or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long board.
Whole slug of resistors that are going to be soldered on. Here looks like
Boy, I'm never going to order that in kit form. It'd never get made.
Here's our little connector package there. You can kind of, there you can see the SCART
there's
connector in there.
your little riser pieces and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's got everything.
And there's the SCART cable
This
there.
is like buying a freaking Lego thing at this point now. There's like 9,000 pieces in a modern Lego kit.
Right?
Yeah, so
here's the socket and the I think this is the chip, the 9958 chip. I think that's the one that is the cost one that's causing them.
Yamaha.
Y'all didn't say there was going to be porn on here.
Be nice. Sloopy has a problem.
And then he has broken apart all the different the other chips there. The what do we got here? So yeah, here's the Yamaha chip that's in here.
Okay, and you got your socket to go
sound
with it
chip.
too.
Yep, and then the various sockets and other TTL chips that come
Okay.
with it. So there we go. So yep, I
Nice.
got a whole slug of soldering to do this weekend, I guess.
All
or
right.
sometime here in the near future.
I'll mention too, John Woodworth announced that Per Surratt has actually uploaded some of the demo programs and some of the AGD game ports that he's done are now publicly downloadable for people who have got the board.
And
so for any of you that do get them and assemble them and get them running there, you actually have some software to run out of the gate now too.
That's also been added to the Coco Pi in an update now too. You can run a track mode on the Dragon where it'll run through some of those MSX2 AGD games with the graphics and sound.
Yeah, but that's not really on Coco, so that's just starting the hobby, Steve.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, really good quality, as Tim Gilbert points out. Yeah, good bill of materials there. You got your documentation. You got all your goodies. It's all in your tubes and in your bags and all that kind of good stuff.
And I think if I remember correctly, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think John mentioned too that because the chip shortage hitting everybody, and particularly some of the MSX chips he's using are harder to get now. The prices have gone up a fair bit, so he's actually had to bump the price up of the board for the second run.
I don't know. I mean, the price that I paid for this is the original price that he had for the kits. So
well, the first batch he sold, he had the old chip prices, but now I guess some of the prices have gone up like double or triple.
Oh boy, I don't know. I haven't been out to the site to look at that to check. I'd have to go look.
Well, for those of you who want to get the second round, just be expecting there might be a bit of a price increase.
Cool, very cool. This just in, yeah. I am expecting something that I don't think has arrived today, but I did order the books from Glen Dahlgren. That was going back a few weeks ago. He just emailed me recently that he just got his hardbacks in. He was waiting on them from whoever he gets them from. So my hardbacks of The Child of Chaos and the Game of War will hopefully be coming in soon. I did finish listening to the audiobook just this week of Child of Chaos. Man, it's really good. Really good story, pretty darn good narration for first-time author, first-time, audiobook narrator. So good job, Glen Dahlgren, on that. I'm looking forward to the second one. I've already got the second one in my Audible queue, and as I start driving around, I'll be listening to that too. And when I get those books, I'll show them off on an future update.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually #1 in Teenage Fantasy for a while there on Amazon.
And it's a good story, kind of like what he was saying, like with that market he calls the YA, the young adult. It's aimed at a certain age group, but I mean, listening to the story, I'm an adult, and I didn't feel like I was listening to a kid's book.
Well, I think the jury's still out on that.
No, but it was good. It didn't feel like you were listening to, it definitely wasn't the Curious George type stuff. It was very adultish listening to that, So cool stuff. It's nice to hear stuff from someone from our community, All right. Anyone else? Anyone have an update, an acquisition?
Sloopy does.
Oh, that's right. Sloopy, where are you, Sloopy? Sloopy, hang on. All right,
I'm right here.
Let's spotlight Sloopy. All right, we're looking at something here. There he is. Hey, Sloopy.
Hi. The drive wire and the drive wirelessly and the internal drive wire boards have started shipping. First ones were received yesterday. And also an announcement. We're going to go ahead with what we discussed, Steve, earlier.
Okay.
All right. Tuesday or Wednesday, not sure yet which we're going to figure out before then, but we're going to start doing a Game On Live challenge where we play the Game On of the Week live. Everyone can join on Discord. It's going to be somewhere between 7 and 8 and 9 or 10 Eastern time, Florida time, to make it easy for Steve.
That's right. Translate it to Steve
and
time.
we'll be broadcasting it live.
So it'll be a live stream on Discord itself, but do you also want to live stream it out on the YouTube multiverse of YouTube and Twitch and all that stuff too? Okay.
Right. Everyone will join into Discord and play there.
And then it'll also be live streamed.
Yeah, then it'll also be live streamed to YouTube and Twitch.
Okay, so a group game on, a weekly group game on thing, which we've tossed around this idea many times in the past, but somebody needs to take it and do it, and you're going to be that one. You're going to do it.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. What I was always hoping would happen, and now it starts like things are starting to happen. Number one, I'm always grateful that we have people who just come on this show and create segments for the show. So we have like the Game On and the news and the new Who's New to Discord. So I love when people take a piece of the show, make it their own, and provide that value-added content to the show itself. But I was always trying to get us to the point where we could have these kind of spin-off shows where I'm trying to get other people to be able to stream, because my schedule is not going to permit me from being the guy driving the train all the time. But if there's enough people who are able to stream, we can have a show, theoretically every day of the week, as long as somebody can stream it. And I don't want to put any restrictions on that. I don't want to be able to have these spin-off shows. I almost feel like, just looking at some of these 6-hour shows, when we start to get to these interviews, we might want to make the interviews a separate show, or maybe make the news or something. I don't know. But the fact that we're taking a whole spin-off show now, or the Game On Live segment, is great. And I would love to have things like getting into the software development talk or hardware talk and things like that. But you just need somebody to stream the show. And it can't always be me, but we have you and we have a few other people. So I would love to have more shows from the CoCoTalk universe available on the air. We just need people to do it. And so this is the first of hopefully many to follow. And hopefully that will give some people some ideas and some maybe show ideas. God forbid, maybe even Curtis could talk about Nitrous 9, because we don't hear that enough.
We want to start that right now?
Basic 09 or
sure.
something, so.
I will mention too, like as far as the interview goes, and I have announced this recently, is that we're going to be switching that to more of a bi-weekly schedule, not strictly, but in general. Just because it was getting a bit too much even for me to handle. I mean, one, they make the shows quite long. They're great and interesting, but also for certain people, especially, I have to do a lot of research to figure out intelligent questions to answer, go over the stuff they've done over the last 40, 50 years. And it was eating up a lot of my time. I haven't actually had time to code on the CoCo, because I've also been busy with work now the last couple of weeks too. And between the two of them, I've had no time to code anything on the CoCo at all. Nitrous 9 or the game or anything else. Like, I've had no time. So I definitely want to cut it back a little bit myself.
That's a tragedy. We got to get back to coding.
So Sloopy, I'll make myself available to you if you need me to help you get set up with the OBS and the restream and all that kind of stuff. There's other people who can help you too, like Grant and Mark Bosley and stuff too. So
yeah, I'm sure I'll have a question or two or 10 million.
And Rocky Hill, Pedro Pena just says, I just received my Sloopy wireless adapter. Very cool. I can't wait to set it up. Cool stuff. And we were going to give one away on the air too. Do we want to maybe start soliciting people to submit their name to the hat so we can draw one from a hat?
Sure.
And we just want to have them maybe just send that as an email. And so I'll put that in the live chat. So if you just send an email to CoCoTalk at cocotalk.live, subject drive wireless. So there you go. So if you send an email to CoCoTalk at CoCoTalk Live with the subject of Drive Wireless, you will be in the hat. Your name will be put in the hat. We will do a random drawing live on the air. We will pick one lucky winner to receive a absolutely free copy of Drive Wireless. Tell people what the requirements are to run it on a real hardware. So don't just ask for something you won't be able to use. Tell people what it is, what it does, and what kind of CoCo they need to be able to implement this.
It'll be usable on a CoCo 1 or 3. And what it does is it allows you to access DriveWire server wirelessly with no need for anything else. You won't need a cartridge. You will need power. You will need a display, but you won't need a cartridge or any wires to connect to your computer beyond the power supply. And basically, it will connect to your wireless network in your home and allow you to use the DriveWire server on one of your PCs to load and play games, or even allow you to use Nitrous 09 Ease of Use Edition.
Okay. And so, but as far as the hardware side of this, is there soldering involved? Is this something where you just like put a chip under a chip type of thing for the people who are not solder capable? What do they need to know? And what's the tech?
You can just say my name, Stevie.
Yeah. Well, I'm throwing myself in that category too. So.
Yeah, the Herod is not a very good conductor of electricity. Honestly, I've burned my hair a couple times in the last week or so. But
I can tell.
Yeah, I thought I trimmed it up pretty nicely. Straight again.
So
like
the,
chicken.
you mentioned one of them goes in the PIA
Yes.
socket, right?
One of them goes. The drive wirelessly board itself goes into the PIA socket, and then the PIA goes into the board. For CoCo 1, this is already socketed, so there's no changes. Yeah, it's pretty much plug and play. There's no real changes. The internal drive wire board, which is the ROM, the software for the CoCo side of things to use drive wire. The socket is on the CoCo 1. It's already socketed, but there's 2 lines that need to be soldered on.
So minimal soldering required.
Minimal. Oh, I forgot I have my CoCo 3 on my desk, not my CoCo 1.
Okay.
But it's just 2 simple points. As long as you have almost, you could probably almost use like little clips to do it, but I don't care much for.
But I want to make sure that somebody who's going to ask for this, they need to realize this is not 100% plug and play.
Right.
There's a little bit of.
Yeah, on the CoCo 3, it requires a fair bit more soldering because they are not socketed. So you'd have to have your
solder things.
Yeah, you'd have
you have to desolder like a 40-pin chip or something then, right?
Right.
Yes, the PIA and the OS ROM would both have to be desoldered out and replaced with sockets, and then 2 more lines would have to be, one more line would have to be put in for the CoCo 3.
The most hassle-free installation would be on a CoCo 1.
That is correct.
Right.
It would only require 2 spots of soldering.
Right. This is an internal modification, minimal soldering. Nothing's going to change the outside of your case, but you'll end up having a custom ROM that will boot you into HDB DOS that has drive wire protocol built into it, and you've got the wireless technology where now you're basically booting up to a CoCo that's ready to drive wire. And it would also talk to Pi drive wire on a CoCo Pi, right? So if you got a CoCo Pi running, you can talk to that wirelessly as well. CoCo Pi could be Wi-Fi, or CoCo can be Wi-Fi, and then boom.
I have a quick question. You guys have specifically said CoCo 1 and CoCo 3. The CoCo 2 is not being mentioned. Is it incompatible or what?
It's fully compatible. It will work. It's more of an issue of logistics. Only the CoCo 2 with the stand-up RF modulator is compatible, and that is generally the USA made one. The Korean made one with a lay down RF modulator. It'll physically work. It's just your keyboard won't fit inside the machine.
So it's more the spacing of where it has to go. It's not like electrically incompatible or anything. Okay.
Literally, if you don't have your keyboard in your CoCo 2, it'll work just fine. I am waiting for boards from China that will be compatible with all CoCo 2s, and then we'll be able to do that. But I mean, a lot of people don't know if their CoCo 2 is a stand-up or lay-down RF modulator, and like this is what the lay-down one looks like, where the RF, the RF out and the switch are next to each other,
kind of parallel on their height, right?
Yeah. The stand-up ones, they're above each other.
Ah, okay. So if the switch is to the side, it's horizontal. If the switch is
vertical,
then it's vertical. And you're saying it works with the vertical and not the horizontal?
That is correct, because this chip down inside here is the PIA.
Okay.
And
you're going to be putting a satellite board, bringing it up, which will hit the keyboard.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's the positioning of the PIA on the lay-down board, on the lay-down RF modulator.
So if you got one of those like PCXT keyboard adapters that actually just has a cable running out to external keyboard, like a PCXT keyboard or PCAT keyboard, it should work with that then on the CoCo 2 even now if you had one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a lay-down.
I think sells it still.
Yeah, that's a lay-down RF modulator, and that's what I used for design. So I know it works in there. It's just that you can't put the machines back together.
Right. So
hey, Sloopy, one other thing I know you and I had talked offline about, if you have a GIME-X or the 8 meg card, there just was no room.
Oh yeah, the internal drive wire board will not fit with a GIME-X. because the GIME-X comes over top of the ROM of the CoCo 3.
Yeah, it's a big board. It's like Independence Day for your CoCo 3.
Yeah, I'm working on a on a different design board that will be compatible with the GIME-X also. It'll just
cool.
have like a ribbon cable that'll go up to the socket, and then it'll come down, and the board will just sit down underneath of the CoCo 3 main board.
Oh, neat.
Oh, Terry's trying to show something off, it looks like, too.
Let's get this going here.
That's where the room's kind of taken up. Is that correct?
Let me spot
over on the right. Over there. That board there.
The main GIME-X board.
Yeah, where the 10-pin connector, IDC connector is. Keep going the other side. Yeah, keep going.
There we go. My arm ain't long enough.
All the way over there. Yeah.
Where that
is
rainbow
over
ribbon
top
cable is, right? So
yeah, that is over top of the ROM, and that's where this board goes. Because I had to do a second revision of the board, and that capacitor that's right there next to where the cartridge port is. Originally, I had to lay that down, but I redesigned the board so that capacitor, it clears that capacitor. But because that board goes over top of the ROM, this won't fit because it fits on top of the ROM.
You're piggybacking it basically on the ROM with the ROM.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's good. It sounds like you have a design for the CoCo 2 coming out that will work with the other RF CAN layout. So that's good.
But
Question.
Go ahead, Gary. Was that Alan? Did you have a question?
Yeah. So internal drive wire is one board, and that's the ROM replacement that lets you have drive wire access built in rather than taking up your cartridge port. And that's not compatible with the GIME-X because of the clearance.
Correct.
Is drive wirelessly compatible with the GIME-X?
I would have to see. I do believe it is, because I was shown a picture once, and I think I said that it was.
Okay.
Terry, if you can hold up the GIME-X machine again. Is there anything over top of the PIA? Yeah. Can we make? Yeah, there we go. Yeesh. It could go either way because the board, the 8 meg board, is right there, so it should clear it, but I'm not 100%. Unfortunately, although I wanted a GIME-X, I'm not in a financial situation to do it. If anyone wants to send me one, I would be more than appreciative. And also a fully working CoCo 3, because mine has issues. But yeah, it looks like it should fit. It'll be a tight fit, but it looks like it should fit. So it's...
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't completely covered up, that there were two different things being discussed.
Right.
One is definitely not going to work, but the other one we don't know.
That is correct.
But
You'd have to use like a cartridge or something.
For the sake of what we're giving away, though, let's just say this is best on a CoCo 1. It's a surefire install on CoCo 1. Yeah, go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, Tom Eric Gunderson mentions in the chat, this is why we need special versions of Rocky Hills boards with all the stuff already incorporated on the main board, and I kind of agree with them, because then there's no soldering, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a neat thing where you can add to a CoCo where it'll boot up to a drive wire capable DOS on ROM and have the wireless ability to talk to a drive wire server. And so you have a self-contained CoCo that can load software with all it needs is electricity and a display, and then poof, everything's going to load into it. So if you're a person who understands drive wire and would appreciate using drive wire in kind of a cool way, the drive wirelessly solution is a cool solution, and we're willing to give away a full kit to someone who will send us an email. Just realize hopefully you're going to use it on real hardware. And know that right now the one that we're giving away best works on a full-size CoCo 1 for the least amount of logistical soldering and connectivity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
yes, and also the nice thing about on the CoCo 1 is that you can also just for playing around, you can also have it go just straight into Color Basic 1.2. Color Basic 1.3 or Extended Basic. So if your CoCo 1 doesn't have extended basic, it will add extended basic to it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And it will also, like when you're using extended color basic 1.1, you can either have color basic 1.2 or 1.3 underneath of it. Because I'm not too knowledgeable about the fine granular details of it, but from what I understand, there is some differences between 1.2 and 1.3, but I'm not sure exactly.
I'm trying to remember. I think that was the difference when the CoCo 2 was using the optional 2-chip versus 8-chip RAM upgrades, where they had that satellite board with H4164s and then the 2-chip 4464s, depending which was cheaper at the time. Because it does have to initialize something a little bit differently on the SAM, I think it is, for that to work properly. So that might be what the difference was.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the difference is. It's the stuff that I've easily seen has to do with different RAMs and what is supported.
Well,
but
Alan Murphy's posting in the live chat that you should have a product fact site going with an ordering page. But yes, if there's a single web page you can put out there somewhere people can reference and pull up and see things, that just makes stuff a heck of a lot easier.
Yep.
And that requires stuff I don't have.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of us who can get you a page on a web host somewhere.
Yeah.
Or just send the copy and we can put it in the free somewhere. Yeah, cool. Very cool.
So I have one quick question for John before we go on. BoatOfCar Charlotte there. Would you mind if I post about the live Discord stream for CoCo Games on your guys' Discord and invite some of your guys over?
Absolutely, Curtis. Go to town, man. Do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And John, don't send us all your ringers to play the games.
Yeah, but keep Z9K9 out there because he keeps beating my score. So
there's a way you can block him out of this thing. I think that's for the best.
Right. And also just to remind Canadian Retro things, when it comes to future games, they don't always have to be score-based too. And so if there are games like adventure games or card games or other things like that where you're not scoring, as long as we get people playing and participating and sharing screenshots, that's really the spirit of the event too. So
I have some of that planned for the near future.
Okay, cool. Very, very cool.
Oh, I just wanted to say Terry Steege's computer is probably one of the most advanced color computers around. How many do you think there are with the 8 megabyte?
8 meg and the GIME-X and the
fair number now at this point.
5309.
Yeah.
I got everything except the Darth Vader paint job.
Do you feel that your CoCo is distorted in any way, Terry?
Everything I own is distorted, Steve.
You don't
just ask my girlfriend.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Exactly.
The ability to display 256 colors is insignificant next to the power of the Force. So.
You know, everything was fine until I met Stevie, and that's when things got really distorted.
You can blame this on me now, are you?
Correct. Oh, hell yeah.
Stevie's the emperor. Yeah.
I was going to suggest Boat should get a GIME-X and 8 meg here, but he's having so much fun playing his Mister. I don't know if he turns on his real CoCo all that often anymore.
It doesn't get a whole lot of action anymore. The Mister is so good. So good.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. All right. I mean, are we done? Are we out of show? I mean, I feel like what's wrong?
Oh, we got a nice long interview next week. We'll make up for it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Is this the shortest CoCo Talk of all time?
No,
I mean,
no.
2.5 hours.
No, if you go to the very first year, I think we had a few shorter than this.
We had one this year that was about 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah, we've had a few times where we've lost internet, so we've had some like 18-second shows a few times.
We have two that are around an hour each.
Yeah. So.
So we're reminiscing about our best shows.
Yeah. No, but I do like the idea of getting more engagement, more involvement. Like I've said this before, we'll say it again. When it comes to the Game On segment, you know, we have people who are contributing in Discord, and that's great to get that level of engagement. But if we want to take it a step further and have some of the people who played come on that segment and talk to us about it during the segment, that would be great too, to hear from some of the participants what it was like for them, and especially the ones who got like their family, what was it like having my kids playing. And so it'd be nice to have that extra layer on this show. And I like the idea of doing like the Tuesday or Wednesday show where we have the game on live on a weekly thing too, where people are actually playing it then at least. So you know, just more layers of the whole community thing, doing stuff, having fun. Sounds good to me. Cool. Anything else? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller?
It's for me.
No? Wow. Well, Curtis, well, you did a hell of a job today. For once, right?
Yeah, and as I mentioned before last week, and just because I don't think Stevie heard it last week, but we've actually got interviews now booked up right through until 2022.
Yeah, you and I need to get together offline because I know you've sent me a few emails. I haven't had a chance to digest them, so I need you to maybe explain some stuff to me and just break it down into simple concepts I can grasp and tell me what's going on here. Would be good. Tom Eric Gunderson says tape loading sounds are the soundtrack of my childhood. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. You made my job easy today. And we lost Grant. Is Mark B still out there? We lost Mark B? Oh, there he is. There's too many. The windows keep moving. All right. Thanks, Mark B, for being here and always being a backup and streaming and all that
See,
good
Ken
stuff.
has a special guest now, too.
Yeah. Ken doing a hell of a job on the Game On segment. We appreciate that. Keeping Nick Marotta's spirit with us while Nick's doing his stuff, and I definitely look forward to having Nick Marotta back whenever his work schedule permits that. I completely relate to being completely consumed with outside responsibilities affecting the hobby. So good stuff, Sloopy. Thanks for that, for taking on that new segment, that new show. Just want to remind you guys, if you have a CoCo 1 and you like DriveWire and you want to try DriveWire less, send an email to CoCoTalk at CoCoTalk Live. You'll get put in the hat, and we will try to, we'll give one away on the air, live and on the air. John Lowry, what else is going on with you? Anything good, brother?
Just working. Been kind of busy. I haven't been able to
I actually have another acquisition. It's not CoCo related, but it is somewhat vintage related. I now am the proud owner of a MacBook Air. It's a 2013. 11-inch little thing. It's running Big Sur right now. I got Big Sur on it. So
yeah, guess what?
The only thing you can afford.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's awesome. That's a testament to the machine.
Yeah.
So what is that? 7 years, and it's running the current software.
Almost 10 years old. It's a 2013. It's going on 8 years old or whatever.
Going on 8 years. Yeah. And it's running the current software. That's really something.
Yeah, and it's fast because it's still solid state.
That is the last one you'll get though.
Oh, that runs Big Sur.
Yeah, it won't run Monterey. I think
the
20
okay.
for the MacBook, because Monterey is like days away from probably. I'm guessing.
That's fine.
I'm speculating, which I was
just telling a friend of mine. I go, look, I was thinking about buying a Chromebook because my laptops are so heavy, and it's been everything I do in a browser. Anyways, I do everything Google Docs, Gmail. Everything I do is cloud based. So I was thinking about buying a Chromebook, a little small, cheap, thin, light thing. And it's like, dude, I got this old iMac, and I'll sell it to you for $200. I'm like, shit, dude, this is a hell of a lot better than a Chromebook, and this is a Mac, So and it works. And I haven't had a Mac. I've got some older Mac Minis, but they won't do any of the newer operating systems, So the fact that I've now got a Mac that runs the current operating system is just kind of cool. So
we need a jingle for the Mac show.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, which, by the way, John, I think I messaged you. I do want to look into getting an Apple Watch too. So you and I need to talk offline about that. So,
all right.
We're converting you over. You got an iPhone already.
Hey, I have an iPhone. I got a Mac. I might be getting an Apple Watch. Ooh.
Some of my refrigerator.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, John Schaller, for being here. You guys are a great group of guys, you amigos, and all your
thank you, Stevie.
Plethora of shows. Thanks for showing off the Joust stuff and sharing some CoCo love outside and letting people on the outside looking in, see what's going on here. Terry Steege, great to see you. Bless your heart, sir. Bless your heart. Terry, I know you've been busy and having life things to deal with, but are you still at all connected to trying to corral speakers for CoCoFest, or has that now been, you completely delegated that away?
I gave all the stuff I had to Tony Pedraza. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
I know he's been contacting everybody I had on my list. I've had a couple get back to me, but
yeah, and so I know you had asked me early on, and I told you then, and I told Tony recently too. It's like I myself, as me, just Steve, I don't want to speak at CoCoFest because there's nothing I want to talk about. I don't think anybody wants to hear me, anyways. But
you have no opinions, right?
Yeah, no, I got plenty of opinions. But I was thinking that if we did some type of CoCo Talk panel discussion where we can all just talk about, you know, what it's been like on this journey. Because a lot of us from the panel are going to be there in person, right? So I'm going to be there. Grant's going to be there. Mark Bosley's going to be there. You're going to be there. It's a lot of us who've been on the show will be there. So if you guys are, you know, if you really don't have a lot, for lack of a better term, if you're desperate for somebody to you know, create some hot air and fill some time, I think we could definitely fill a spot and just talk about, you know, into the whole CoCoTALK experience in the community and, you know, stuff like that. That might be interesting to some people.
I think that'd be great. I know Brian's going to be working on the virtual side of things. So even if you're not in person, we could do, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah, we are going to try to stream the event too.
Yeah.
We're going to try to do some streaming from the event just to show people who can't make it the event in some capacity. I don't know if we're going to have a full-fledged CoCoFest that weekend because we're all going to be there. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be here to stream because all the streamers are going to be there, right? So Mark Bosley's going to be there. Grant's going to be there. We're the main guys who've been streaming the show. Mark Overhol's.
I would just stream from the show because, I mean, I'm supposed to be streaming in to do like a seminar or something too. So, I mean, we can just kind of link that all up.
Mark Overhol's, are you going to be there?
Yeah, I'm planning on being there.
Okay. So a lot of us are going to be at CoCoFest that normally stream the show. So we'll have some form of coverage. I'm not sure what. But since I know you were involved in speaking arrangements before, I just figured, you know, if you needed somebody to fill some time, we might be able to do a CoCoTALK, you know,
okay, I'll
panel
get with
live.
Tony. And,
yeah. I had emailed that to Tony too, and I'm saying it in all modesty and all honesty. Nobody needs to or wants to hear us, but if you literally have nothing better, then we'll do it just to give you something, so you know it's not a complete failure, right? So
I think that'd be great. I would recommend let's not have Grant stream.
At least not on the elevator,
right? We could try pulling up like a best of CoCoTALK over the last 4 years, but we just don't have.
That'd be a pretty darn short show, don't you think?
Right.
It would be.
Right. No, but I'm looking forward to you know, just there's, you know, there's Tandy Assembly this week. There's I'm glad that there are, you know, in the COVID era, that there are in-person events happening, and hopefully they're going to get bigger and more often. VCF Midwest was a great event. It was good to get out, and so I'm looking forward to another good weekend getaway this year at CoCoFest just to hang out. Like when I went to VCF, I had no expectations. I just wanted to hang out with some friends, you know, and the fact that there was retro stuff there was a bonus, but it was just kind of seeing people and hanging out and having good Chicago food, you know. So looking forward to hanging out and seeing some cool stuff. And I understand the auction is going to be awesome this year, and so looking forward to seeing that. It's going to be some good times there.
I wonder how many of these new Audio Spectrum analyzer cartridges.
Right. Rare. Now, you know, the word rare is used a lot on eBay, but it is kind of rare to find the graphical version of Audio Spectrum analyzer at this point, you know, so created a whole new thing, right? So
I am looking forward to guys
going?
Streaming it too, because I can't go. I'm really looking forward to you doing that, guys. Thanks.
And John Lowry, are you going to make it? CoCoFest?
Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm going to fly in because I looked it up, round trip, it's like cheap. So I was like, okay,
so Matt is saying if there's masks, I won't be there. Even if I were to have gone, if not for mask, I feel the need to say this in either case.
Well, what does anyone know the story on that? Is it's not going to be mandated?
It's going to be what the it's going to be whatever Chicago requires, whatever Illinois requires. It's not really the event making the rules; it's the state or the city, whatever that case may be. So, local jurisdiction will apply. Cool stuff. All right, we're ready to press the button in this one?
I think so.
All right, I'm going to skip the pre-recorded outro. We'll just say thank you all for being on the panel. So once again, Mark Overholzer and Canadian Retro Things, and L. Curtis Boyle and Boat for being here, and Sloopy and Terry Steege and John Lowry and Alan Murphy and Mark Bosley and Patrick Hewlett, Ron Delvo, David Ladd, Nick Marentis, and Stevie Stroh saying thank you all for watching CoCo Forever, Dragon Forever. There is no such thing as too much CoCo. You're not distorting the hobby. It's always going to be a CoCo if you're doing it with the spirit of CoCo in your heart. You can add all you want. You can have a 19-layer CoCo cake, and it's still CoCo. It's still good. There's no wrong way to CoCo. No such thing as too much CoCo. There's just not enough
now I'm hungry.
CoCo. There's not enough CoCo. Matter of fact, we should not be saying we should be asking what else can we do to our CoCo, not has the CoCo gone too far. No, the CoCo has not gone far enough. It's got more places to go. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it here on the show, as long as it runs dagger at this one. Alan Murphy says, all right, say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Have a good one.